Marvel. I traveled through the Marvel universe and becomes the assistant of Dr. Zola. Chapter 41. In fact, when Leo heard the gang leader who died under the iron fist of Bucky say that the most famous gang leader in the United States was actually named Jin Bing, Leo was very shocked. It seems that this Marvel universe is not a simple movie universe, but a new parallel universe that combines various elements. Now that there's Kim, and then there could be all sorts of other superheroes and super criminals. Leo is also relatively familiar with the movie universe, and when other elements are involved, he is a bit lacking. But that's what makes the world a better place, isn't it? The destination Leo drove to at this time was an area on the West Bank of Manhattan in New York City. Its official borough is called Clinton, alias Midwest, but Leo prefers to call it Hell's Kitchen. By nightfall, Leo had driven Bucky to the edge of Hell's Kitchen. Gollum. Bucky's stomach suddenly rang. He smiled awkwardly and said, "Leo, it's getting late, what are we going to do next?" "Just say it if you want to eat, why are you so chomping?" Bucky smiled awkwardly again and rubbed his stomach. Leo glanced at Bucky and said, "Let's find a place to live, settle down, and then find a place to eat. Actually, I'm hungry too." After Leo drove around Hell's Kitchen a few times, he finally found a decent-looking hotel called the Harvest Hotel. Moreover, the words, Harvest Hotel, turned out to be Chinese. Leo parked the car in the parking space beside the street on the right side of the hotel, and said to Bucky while unbuckling his seat belt, "Bucky, get out of the car and live here tonight." After Bucky unfastened his seat belt, he pointed to the compartment with his thumb and asked, "What about the stuff in the trunk? Take it to the hotel or put it in the car." In the trunk were Leo's lightly loaded power arm V, which had been simply repaired, as well as some guns and ammunition, as well as valuables such as gold, silver, and jewelry that they had robbed from gangsters along the way. "Let's put it in the car first. It's not necessarily safe in the hotel. Besides, it's not convenient to take these things out." Bucky nodded, followed Leo out of the car, and after he could see the surrounding environment and the traditional Chinese characters on the entire street, he asked, "Leo, this looks like a Chinatown. Judging from your appearance, you are Asian. Are you Chinese? I used to maintain your robotic arm for you at the base for so long. Don't you know my past? I used to be in a daze. Except for some very important things I did, I couldn't remember the rest clearly. You didn't have any sense of existence before, how could I remember your past?" Leo didn't think Bucky was lying, and he felt that Bucky should have no reason to set his own words. However, Leo still kept his mind and said, "I'm a Chinese, but I don't want to talk about the past. Don't ask about it in the future. Let's start a new life again." Seeing that Leo was reluctant to speak, Bucky thought about it a little and knew that he might be a little talkative, and continued, "Leo, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to spy on your secret. I just asked a lot. You rescued me, and I have absolutely no bad intentions for you." Cough cough. "Bucky, it's okay, you don't need to apologize, I'm embarrassed if you say that." Leo looked at Bucky's frank face, smiled awkwardly, touched his nose and said, "Let's stop standing beside the car, go to the hotel and ask if there is any room. After checking in, let's go to eat. Since I drove in the morning, I have eaten some bread and I am very hungry." Bucky's stomach growled again just right. Leo laughed and walked towards the hotel door with Bucky. But before they could enter the hotel door, someone blocked their way. "Two gentlemen, I have just stood there watching you for a long time. Excuse me, are you two locals?" Leo didn't answer in a hurry, but first carefully looked at the girl in front of him. She looked very young, the age of just graduating from college. She is 1.65 meters tall, carries a backpack, has long hair tied behind her waist, and has freckles on her face. But freckles not only did not affect her beauty, but added a little charm. Especially her eyes are full of vigor and liveliness, as if she is very curious about everything. But what is even more surprising is that both Leo and Bucky are sensitive people, and the girl in front of them said that she had been watching them from a distance for a long time, but neither of them noticed. Leo remained vigilant and replied, "Hello, beautiful lady. We are not locals. My friend and I happened to be here. We were tired from the journey and wanted to find a place to rest. The hotel looks good, and we just want to spend the night here." "Aha, this hotel looks good. Is it the shabby door that attracts you, or is it its leaky windows?" "To tell you the truth, gentlemen, It's called the Midwest, and it's the largest slum in New York City, and it's a notoriously chaotic place. If the two gentlemen don't want to wake up tomorrow and find that there is only a pair of underwear left, they should leave this place as soon as possible and find another place to live. Quote. Of course Leo knew what Hell's Kitchen was like, but now he was more concerned about who the girl in front of him was. Therefore, he was racking his brains to recall and forgot what he said to the girl in front of him. Bucky didn't speak up. Although he faced Leo like a chatterbox, he was still as cold as an iceberg towards strangers. Seeing that both of them remained silent, the girl thought that neither of them believed her words, so she added another fire and said in a low voice. Actually, there is another more terrifying name here, called Hell's Kitchen, and there are a group of terrifying people who live like devils. At this time, Bucky saw that Leo still did not speak, and couldn't help but asked coldly. Then why are you here? Who are you? When the girl saw that someone finally spoke up, she straightened her body happily, took out a business card and handed it to Bucky Road. My name is Mary Jane. I'm an intern reporter for the Daily Bugle. This is my business card. It's a pleasure to meet you too. Before Bucky reached out to catch the business card, Leo took it first, then extended his hand and said enthusiastically. My name is Leo Irwin, and next to me is my friend Barnes. Nice to meet you, Miss Jane. Nice to meet you too, Mr. Irwin. Mary Jane also shook hands with Leo enthusiastically, then turned her head and nodded to Bucky with a smile. So Bucky also squeezed out a smile in response. Leo then asked, Miss Jane, listening to your tone, you shouldn't be a local called Hell's Kitchen, right? Then what are you doing here? I came here to collect and sort out the daily life of ordinary people in Central and Western City, and to prepare a report. It's very chaotic here, and I usually don't have the courage to come here for interviews. And recently the employment environment is not good, and the competition is fierce. So, you know, I don't want to come either, so helpless. Quote. Mary Jane spread her hands, saying that she had a reason to come. And Leo did know that this was actually her risk-taking gene at work. But Leo didn't break it, and then asked. Since this place is so chaotic, my friends and I are going to live in another place. But we don't know where we live, and we don't know where it is economical to live. Miss Jane, do you have any good places to recommend? Quote. Mary Jane was about to answer when suddenly the pager in her pocket rang. She took out her pager and looked at her watch again. She made an apologetic gesture to Leo and the two of them, and then quickly ran to the phone booth not far away to make a call. Hi Peter, I'm Mary. I'm sorry, I was busy with other things and forgot the time for the graduation party. I'll make it now, it should be too late. Leo's hearing was also greatly enhanced by the super serum, so he heard Mary Jane's words not far away clearly. Mary Jane chatted briefly on the phone, and then she ran back to Leo and said anxiously. Mr. Lee, you can drive south along this road and go to the end, and you can get out of Zongxi City. It's safer there, just find a decent place to live. I have something urgent, so I'll go first. Quote. After speaking, Mary Jane hurried to the side of the road and drove away in her blue pickup truck. Leo watched her leave, looked at the business card in his hand again, and nodded with satisfaction. Then he walked towards the door of the Harvest Hotel and said as he walked. Bucky, let's go. We can go to dinner after we've checked in at the Harvest Hotel. Bucky followed and asked inexplicably. Leo, didn't Miss Jian just say that it's too messy here? In order to avoid trouble, did you suggest we don't live here? Leo stopped, turned his head and asked. Bucky, are we afraid of trouble? Bucky was stunned for a moment, then reacted and said with a smile. I wish there was more trouble. In the Harvest Hotel, because it was almost evening, and the innkeeper did not turn on the lights in order to save money, it looked a little dim. As soon as Leo and Bucky entered the hotel owner greeted them warmly from behind the counter. The boss is a tall and thin Chinese who looks like he is in his 40s or 50s. He saw the face of Leo Asian and asked in Mandarin with a southern accent. Do you guys want to stay in a hotel? A single room is $20 a night, and a double room is $30. There is no tip or tax. It's all included. Leo listened to the familiar and cordial Mandarin, but did not answer in Chinese. He asked in fluent English. Hi, hello, we want to stay in the hotel. I don't understand what you're saying. Can you speak English? The hotel owner found that the two did not understand Chinese, and translated the words just now in English. The price is fine, we can accept it. However, boss, we forgot our ID cards. Can you let us two live here for one night? One of the reasons Leo chose to live in Hell's Kitchen was because neither he nor Bucky had legal status. And it's because of the chaos in Hell's Kitchen that the innkeeper doesn't care who lives there. Sure enough, the innkeeper heard that the two had no identification, and there was no embarrassment or surprise on his face. Instead, he said very skillfully, "Without ID, you're going to double the price." Leo didn't bargain too much, just double the price. He is not short of money now. He drew 3 $20 bills from his pocket and exchanged for a key to a double room from the innkeeper. Room 203, the hotel owner simply pointed to the direction of the stairs, then continued to sit back behind the counter and smoked a cigarette. Leo took Bucky to room 203, opened the door with the key, and found that the room was quite spacious, with 2 single beds in it. What surprised Leo even more was that there was no musty or rancid smell in the room. At this time, the window was open for ventilation, and although there were several cracks in the glass of the window, it had been carefully covered with tape. Although the furniture and bedding in the house looked a little worn out, they were very clean, and the quilts were neatly folded. Leo couldn't help sighing, maybe this is the best hotel in Hell's Kitchen. Bucky, what's the environment like here? If there's no problem, we'll stay here. This is much better than the sleeping compartment of the previous 2 days, and I don't know how much better it is than my icy sleeping compartment. The two decided to live here. They didn't have much to clean up either, but out of professional habit, the two still checked whether there were cameras, monitors, etc. in the house. After the inspection was completed and it was found that everything in the house was normal, the two locked the door and prepared to go out to eat. Because the house was cleaned up relatively cleanly, Leo still had a good impression of the hotel owner. When he got to the counter, Leo asked, "Boss, we're going out for something to eat. Is there anything delicious nearby? Do you have any recommendations?" The hotel owner was sitting behind the counter smoking a cigarette, and his voice drifted to Leo's ears along with the smoke. "Turn left when you go out and walk along this street to the end. There is a Peace restaurant. The sizzling steak in it tastes very good. You can try it." So Leo and Bucky decided to follow the hotel owner's advice and go to the Peace Hotel for steak. When he reached the door, Leo also keenly noticed that there was a surveillance camera on the top of the hotel sign. However, after finding out that the camera was used by the boss himself to prevent theft, Leo didn't care. The two turned left and walked for 2 minutes before arriving at the door of the Peace Hotel. There are also 2 big dogs guarding the door at the door, looking fierce and unusual. After an hour, after eating and drinking, the two walked out of the Peace Hotel. The hotel owner really didn't lie, the steak tasted really good, fresh and tender. But the price is not very expensive, it is only a small piece of 20 yuan. For a meal, Leo and Bucky spent a full $200, which was like a prodigal. However, their money is not earned by working hard, and it is not distressing at all to spend it. During the 2-day robbery in Minnesota, the two men stole more than $20,000 in cash alone. Not to mention the value of the gold and silver items in their car. "Leo, what are we going to do next? It's getting dark, and Hell's Kitchen should be lively. Let's go join in the fun and ask about something by the way." Bucky didn't have any plans in mind, so what Leo said, he followed suit, playing the role of a thug with peace of mind. In this day and age, if a grown man wants to have fun at night, it's just alcohol and women. Especially those who like to get something for nothing. When checking out at the hotel just now, Leo had already inquired about the hotel owner and knew where to have some fun in Hell's Kitchen at night. At this time, Leo was following the road pointed by the restaurant owner, leading Bucky to Ming Street, which is said to be the most prosperous street in Hell's Kitchen. It is the busiest street here. When Leo and the two just walked to the street, they saw that the whole street was brightly lit, and rhythmic music came from the rooms. Along with the rhythm of the music, there were faint sounds of gasping and moaning from the alley on Leo's left. However, suddenly, the gasp was choked, and a woman's scream came from the alley, "Help! Help!" Then, a low-pitched threat sounded. The moment the scream sounded, Bucky and Leo stopped at the same time. Bucky gave Leo a look. Leo shrugged, spread his hands again, and then turned innocently into the alley. There are no street lights in the alley, only relying on the scattered lighting of the street lights, it is extremely dim. Leo took out a bright flashlight from his pocket and turned on the switch facing the front. Under the dazzling light, a man and a woman with exposed lower bodies subconsciously covered their eyes with their hands. The cries for help and threats stopped abruptly at the same time. Only then did Leo see clearly that in the alley, a woman was lying on a goose-down blanket, and a man was kneeling on top of her. This looks like a favored deal. However, after the event, no, it was in the middle of it, the man seemed to tear up the verbal agreement that was negotiated and no longer wanted to pay. What's more, he is holding a fruit knife, trying to make some more money from the woman under him. The dazzling flashlight was still focused on the man and the woman, making both of them unable to open their eyes. The man seemed to feel that it was too shameful for him to be stared at in this position, so he got up, raised his pants, and ran away from the other side of the alley without saying a word. Bucky tried to chase, but was stopped by Leo. Leo turned off the flashlight, and the woman lying on the blanket got up and slowly lowered her skirt. "Are not you cold?" Leo walked in front of her and asked lightly. The woman saw clearly an Asian man standing in front of her who was a head taller than her. Moreover, looking at his clothes, he looks quite rich. The next moment, the woman was like a conjurer, and the expression on her face turned into a smile in an instant. She adjusted her dress, showing a smile she thought was charming, and said softly, "This handsome guy, are you here to have some fun? Just look for me, I'm a flower in this street, only $50, I'm sure to make you have a good night." Leo took 2 steps back, avoided the woman who was pasting him, took out a $5 bill, shook it in front of the woman, and said, "I'm not interested in you. I heard that there are people here who can help others with legal identification. If you tell me who to go to, the $5 will be yours." After hearing this, the woman smiled charmingly, reached out and took the $5 bill, stuffed it into her chest, and said softly, "I happen to know that $5 is really easy to make. You go to the Innocence Bar in the middle of Ming Street, go to the 2nd floor and find a man named Old Tom, and he will know how to apply for identification. However, handsome man, remember to pay attention to your own safety." Quote. Leo didn't talk to him, he took Bucky and turned around and left. The woman Shirin followed them out of the alley. After leaving the alley, at the entrance of the alley, there is a bar on the right called Peach. "Two handsome guys, are you really not coming to play? I have many sisters here, and there are all kinds of styles." Leo glanced back and found that the original woman was already lying at the door of the Peach Bar, with her head half exposed and waving to him and Bucky. Leo ignored her, turned his head and walked towards the middle of the street. The woman watched Leo and Bucky walk away, shook her head in disappointment, and walked into the bar. At this time, a strong black man greeted him and asked, "Boss, are you all right? I heard your shout just now, but when I saw Shadid run away and you talked to 2 other strangers, you didn't go over there." "I'm fine. Take it down. Shadid owes me $50 and a right hand, remember to collect it tomorrow." "Boss, don't go out to the bar to pick up jobs in the future, it's too dangerous. The old lady likes it, can you handle it?" Leo took Bucky into the Pure Love bar in the middle of the street. As soon as he stepped into the door, 2 coquettish girls came up, and they were about to put their arms around Leo's shoulders. Leo dodged and said, "I've come to see Old Tom, and I'm not in the mood for fun." The 2 women walked away in disappointment, and stood by the door until a strong man in a black suit came up. The strong man asked in a deep voice, "Brother, who is on the road? What's the matter with coming to see Old Tom?" "People in the underworld, come to see Old Tom for some business talks." The strong man saw Leo's answer very casually and indifferently. He was a janitor and didn't have much power, so he took Leo and Bucky through a corridor, up the long stairs, and up to the 2nd floor of the bar. The 2nd floor of the bar is much quieter than the 1st floor, there are not too many people, and the music is a little softer. As soon as they went up to the 2nd floor, a man who looked more fierce came up and asked the strong man who led Leo up, "Bobby, what are these 2 doing?" "Bano, they said they came to see Old Tom and have a business to do." "Weren't they noticed by the people at the bar across from them when they came in?" "I don't know, but they are raw faces, and the probability of being noticed should be relatively high. However, the people on the opposite side should not know whether they are here for fun or for business." Barnes and nodded and let Poppy continue to return to the goal. Barnes and Noble looked Leo and Bucky up and down and asked, "You came to see Old Tom, what business are you going to do?" Although Leo wondered why the two were guarding against the people in the opposite bar, this matter had nothing to do with him, and in order to avoid trouble, he was not going to ask more. So Leo replied, I was introduced to see Old Tom and prepare to apply for 2 legal ids. Do you know the rules? I don't understand, but you can tell me. Quote, regardless of men, women and children, each person is required to pay $10,000 as a deposit of $1,000, and the balance will be paid after the event is completed. Also, don't spread the word about it afterward. Leo nodded, indicating that he understood. Seeing that the two of them were not at all embarrassed, Barnes and Noble knew that they had met too big money, and said quickly, then, please, the two of you, I will take you to find Old Tom. Barnes and Noble led the way, walked along the corridor to the end, and pushed open a door on the right. He glanced at the door and shouted loudly, Old Tom, get up from Polly's body, the moneymaker for your splurge next month is here, get up and work quickly. I don't know how many lifetimes of blessings you have cultivated, and you can actually climb up a relationship, apply for a legal identity certificate, and you don't have to worry about getting shot every day, you can make money lying in the house. Quote, a giggling, half-blooded woman in a top and bare bottom ran out of the house first, and she blew a kiss to Barnes by the way. After she saw Leo and Bucky standing behind, she blew 2 more kisses, then giggled and ran down the corridor to the front room. Barnes and Noble shook his head and motioned for Leo and Bucky to enter the room, then he closed the door and turned to leave. Inside, the colored lights are bright and warm. A man was standing in front of the sofa with his trousers. He should be Old Tom. Let the two of you laugh, just sit down, I'll be fine right away. Leo looked at Old Tom carefully. Old Tom didn't look very old, he looked like he was in his 40s. However, it may be because of excessive drinking, and the whole person looks listless. After a while, Old Tom packed up his clothes, washed his hands by the water pipe in the house, wiped the towel and said, Barnes and Noble should have told the two of you the price just now, right? Leo nodded. Old Tom continued, since you have no problem with the price, then I will tell you the status that I can handle. The identity certificate I obtained can only be an orphan who grew up in an orphanage with both parents dead. The age can be selected from 18 to 24 years old, and the place of birth can only be Manhattan, New York. There are 2 types of certificates, including Social Security card and driver's license. Quote, Leo nodded again and said lightly, no problem. Next, Old Tom started to work. He first led Leo and the two into a booth, took a photo with the camera, and then gave Leo and Bucky a simple form. Leo and Bucky just need to fill in their names and ages. Leo naturally filled in Leo Irwin, who was 20 years old, and Bucky didn't want to change his name, so he filled in Bucky Barnes, and his age was 24 years old. Afterwards, Leo took out his bulging wallet from his pocket, ordered 20 pieces of 100 denominations, and handed them to Old Tom. I know that 100 denomination bills are not easy to spend here, but for you, it should be no problem to spend. Old Tom frowned slightly, and hurriedly took the banknotes from Leo's hand. After a closer look, he found that it was not a consecutive number, and he was a little relieved. He stretched his brows and smiled. Of course there's no problem with the small money. Go back and wait for the news. After 7 days, pay the balance here, and then all the procedures will be completed. Leo stood up and shook hands with Old Tom, and sighed that the order of the gang here still seems to be okay. It's not as dark and chaotic as Leo originally thought. The matter has been negotiated. Leo takes Bucky and prepares to open the door and leave. Suddenly, he was keenly aware of the commotion in the corridor outside the door, as if a dozen people were rushing towards Old Tom. Bucky also noticed this unusual movement. After he and Leo looked at each other, they both took a few steps away from the door. Leo and Bucky took a few steps back when they heard the movement in the corridor outside the door. Old Tom also found that the atmosphere was wrong, and was going to open the door to check the situation. Suddenly, Barnes and Noble's angry shout came from the corridor outside the door. Boss Poison Wolf, our Black Bear Gang and your Poison Wolf Gang have always been good at making money without breaking the river. But today, why did you break into our bar with someone? Although the Black Bear boss is not here today, this is not a place where you can go wild. You don't break the rules, the consequences are serious, and it's not good for both gangs. Quote, hearing the name of the poisonous wolf, the Old Tom in the house was startled, and immediately left the door and began to find a place to hide. Rules. You broke the rules first. A sharp male voice shouted, and he continued. According to the rules, all the people who come to Ming Street to apply for identification are half the Black Bear Gang and the Poison Wolf Gang. But what did you do? If I hadn't received the news, you would have quietly swallowed the 2 fat sheep, right? Who is the boss of the Poisonous Wolf listening to? Our Black Bear Gang is open and above board. How can we do such a thing? Someone must be provoking our relationship. The relationship between our 2 gangs is not on good terms. Where do we need others to provoke them? Whether you Black Bear Gangs are doing things upright or a mythical trick, we can see at a glance. Poison Wolf, how dare you? Boom. The door of Old Tom's room was kicked open directly, and 6 people rushed in with sticks. The head was a strong man with a long face and a beard. It was the Poisonous Wolf. The Poisonous Wolf glanced at Old Tom's house and found Leo and Bucky. He pointed at Leo with an iron rod, turned his head and shouted at Barnes and Noble outside the door. Did you also say that you Black Bear Gang do things upright? Then why are the 2 of them here? Huh. Barnes and Noble was silent, and Old Tom was so frightened that he hid in the cubicle. The Poisonous Wolf became more and more angry. He turned his head, and swayed forward with a stick in his hand, and shouted at Leo and Bucky through gritted teeth. You 2 idiots, don't you know the rules of doing things here in Ming Street? Don't you know that you should notify the Black Bear Gang and the Poison Wolf Gang at the same time before doing things? Bad rules. Do you want to die, you? Leo frowned, took a step back, dodged the spitting stars of the Poisonous Wolf, and said lightly. Bucky, kill him. Bucky couldn't stand it for a long time. He heard Leo's order and rushed out. He raised his left arm and punched the Poisonous Wolf in the face. There was a loud metal collision, and the Poisonous Wolf flew out of the door, and fell heavily on the wall of the corridor outside the door, his face covered in blood. Poison Wolf is indeed the boss of the Poison Wolf Gang, and he still has 2 brushes. At a critical moment, he retracted the iron rod in his hand and held it in front of him with both hands, blocking the Winter Soldier's straight punch. But Bucky's strength was too great, and the iron rod held by the Poisonous Wolf was directly smashed by Bucky's punch, and the Poisonous Wolf's hands were also broken by the tremendous force, and the broken iron rod finally smashed into the face of the Poisonous Wolf. But the good iron rod also played a buffering role. Although the smashed head of the Poisonous Wolf was bleeding, at least there was no head blossoming, and he could even speak. The Poisonous Wolf sat on the ground, pointed at Bucky tremblingly, and shouted to the little brother who came with him. Quick, quick, use the gun, kill him, kill this monster with the gun. But everything happened in the blink of an eye, and the group of younger brothers didn't react at all to what happened. Bucky saw that his punch didn't work, and stepped up to catch up with another punch. This time, the Poisonous Wolf was not so lucky. His head was flattened by Bucky's punch, and he lay limply on the ground, dead. At this time, other talents except Leo reacted. The 5 younger brothers brought by the Poisonous Wolf were preparing to draw their guns in the house. But how could they be faster than Leo? Clap 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 clap. With 5 shots in a row, Leo completely ignored the recoil of the pistol and accurately shot the 5 wolves' little brothers in the head. At this time, several members of the Black Bear Gang who were still outside the door reacted and prepared to draw their guns. Everyone, don't move. The Black Bears put their guns away. At the critical moment, Barnes and Noble responded. He first stopped the younger brothers who were just about to drink, and then faced Leo, very awe-inspiring. Brother, I don't know, and I don't want to care who you are. But I, the Black Bear Gang, absolutely, you have no malicious intentions. You are here to do business with us, we are not enemies. Leo slowly stuffed the gun back into his waist, took out a piece of paper and wiped Bucky's fist, said lightly. I'm actually a person who is afraid of trouble, and I rarely make enemies. Barnes and Noble then let go of a hanging heart. Leo continued. I don't have time. You guys help me deal with the corpses on the ground. Also, I'll come over to get my ID in 7 days. I hope you don't forget it. After finishing speaking, Leo took Bucky and stepped over the corpse on the ground, ready to leave gracefully. However, the sky was not as expected, and a series of gunshots suddenly came from the first floor of the bar, and then the music downstairs stopped, leaving only the noisy screams. With the sound of the thumping stairs, Poppy rushed to the second floor and shouted. Brother Bano, what happened upstairs? Why are there gunshots? Downstairs, the people from the Poison Wolf Gang have blocked the entrance of the bar, and the guns have gone off. They want to see their boss poison. The next moment, Poppy saw the body of the poisonous wolf, and he swallowed the unfinished words into his stomach. Poppy looked at the 6 corpses lying on the ground, swallowed and said, "Brother Bano, what should we do now? The boss of the Poison Wolf gang is dead, and the members of the Poison Wolf gang are blocking our door. The boss of the Black Bear is not here, you must make up your mind." Barnes and Noble is the second in command of the Black Bear gang, and he is also a bit of a brain. He asked Poppy calmly, "How many people from the Poison Wolf gang are downstairs?" "There are more than 30 people now. But they seem to have already called for people, and until the end, even more than 80 of them can come together." Quote, "How many brothers do we have now? There are only 28 in total. 30 brothers went to the banquet with the Black Bear boss, and went to support the scene, and the remaining dozen or so were estimated to be sneaking all over the street." After listening to this, Bon Nuo thought for a while, and finally he was ruthless and decided to destroy the Poison Wolf gang. He hurried 2 steps and came to Leo, who had been watching from the sidelines, and said in a low voice, "Although I don't know the true identities of the 2, but looking at the behavior of the 2, they should also be moral people. Today, the conflict between the Black Bear gang and the Poison Wolf gang has started, and the Poison Wolf died on the 2nd floor of our bar. The 2 sides have no chance to make peace. They can only fight to the death. I, Barnes and Noble, on behalf of the Black Bear gang, sincerely ask for your help. After it is done, there must be a great thank you." Quote, Leo said coldly and expressionlessly, "As I said, I'm not a person who likes to cause trouble. So, I won't get involved in your conflict. I hope you can win this battle, and I'll come to get my ID in 7 days." Bucky interjected at this time and said coldly, "Get our money and get things done. We don't want to run away in 7 days. My Black Bear gang is reputable, and since I received money from 2 people, I will definitely do my best. It doesn't matter if the 2 of you are unwilling to help us. Please pay attention to your own safety and leave as soon as possible. After all, there will be no bullets in the future." Quote, seeing that Leo and Bucky could not be persuaded, Barnes was threatened again, and he couldn't help being a little annoyed. But he didn't dare to get angry with the 2 of them, so he could only resign. He turned to Bobby again and said, "Notify the brothers, bring the good guys, and prepare to fight at the bar. I will inform the boss of the Black Bear now, and let him come back quickly. When the time comes, we will attack back and forth and destroy their poisonous wolf gang in one fell swoop." The people of the Black Bear gang took their weapons and went down to the 1st floor. In a blink of an eye, only Leo and Bucky were left on the 2nd floor, as well as the 6 corpses lying on the ground. "Oh, right, and there's an old Tom hiding in the house." Bucky asked, "Leo, what do we do now? Shall we just leave here?" "Not urgent." Leo waved his hand, then turned his head and got into old Tom's room. At this time, old Tom had just sneaked out of the cubicle, and was about to find a chance to slip away. When he saw Leo coming back, he was startled, and he quickly raised his hands and said, "Hey man, I don't mean anything to you guys, don't kill me. I haven't done anything nasty, I haven't even shot. Relax, old Tom, I'm not a bad person. I just suddenly felt that it would take 7 days to process an ID card. That seems too long, and I may not be able to wait. How soon can you complete the identification process?" Quote, although Leo said it well, he kept playing with the pistol he just took out from his waist. Without hesitation, old Tom blurted out, 5 days, it only takes 5 days at the fastest, and I can complete all the procedures." Leo frowned, and old Tom's face changed again, and he cried out in grief. "This is really the fastest time. From submitting the materials to getting the social security card and driver's license, although I have internal staff to help, it will take 4 days at the earliest, and it will cost a lot of extra money. So, you really only have 1 day to use. You can think the same. But that insider only buys my account, and others can't go." Old Tom specially emphasized one sentence, highlighting his importance. "Okay, since you are so important, I don't want you to accidentally die in the next conflict. Why don't you follow me tonight to make a good night? As long as you finish the formalities for me tomorrow, I'll set you free." Quote, old Tom hesitated a little, but suddenly there was a steady stream of gunshots downstairs. At the same time, under Leo's instruction, Bucky took a step forward and clenched his fist. Seeing that Leo was going to be tough, Old Tom immediately said softly, "Okay, okay, I'll listen to you. As long as you can get me out of this bar, I'll listen to you." Leo nodded in satisfaction. He smiled and approached Old Tom, grabbing Old Tom's wrist. He fumbled around with his hands on Old Tom, and after confirming that Old Tom was not carrying a pistol, he nodded to Bucky. Bucky walked to the side wall of Old Tom's house. Under the puzzled look of Old Tom, he raised his left hand and punched the wall. There was a loud noise from the wall, and it was directly smashed in half by Bucky. Bucky probed to observe the situation downstairs, turned around to signal to Leo that everything was safe, and jumped first. Leo pulled Old Tom with his mouth open and jumped downstairs. Leo and Bucky are both in good physical condition, and there is nothing wrong with jumping off. And poor Old Tom, unfortunately, got his foot wobbled. But Old Tom didn't dare to say a word. He endured the pain and limped along with Leo and the two along the alley, towards the end away from Ming Street. Seeing that the three were about to leave the alley, suddenly, a figure descended from the sky, stepped on several fire escapes, and finally landed firmly in front of the three of them. The visitor was wearing a red tights with two overlapping D letters embroidered on his left chest. He wore a black mask that covered half of his head, with two small horns protruding from the front of the mask. The first time Leo saw this man, he knew that Lawyer Ma was here. Lawyer Ma is Matt Murdock, a superhero born and raised in Hell's Kitchen. He was blind since childhood and his father was killed, so he vowed to avenge all innocent victims. During the day, he acts as a lawyer to provide justice for people. At night, he puts on a red leotard, transforms into Daredevil, and does everything he can to maintain order in Hell's Kitchen at night. He was blinded by a type of radioactive waste, but he has acquired an extraordinary sense of hearing, touch, smell, and taste. After another hard training, his skills are also very good. But at the same time, his weakness is also fatal. The strong and continuous noise can make Matt lose his superpowers instantly, and even make him weaker than ordinary people. Therefore, Leo and Bucky were not afraid of him at all, and even said that it was really easy for them to take him down. But Leo knew that Matt wasn't a bad guy and wasn't ready to hurt him. Instead, Leo exaggeratedly complimented Matt. "Hello, it's an honor to meet you. I think you're the Daredevil in Hell's Kitchen, and the villains are terrified." Matt listened to the flattery and didn't speak. Instead, he took out the nunchaku metal stick on his right leg, shook it into a long bar, and pointed at Leo diagonally. The gangsters in Hell's Kitchen know that Daredevil is terrible, but he can also be knocked down, bleed, and injured. Where is the feared reputation? So, Matt felt that Leo was laughing at him. "Oh, Daredevil, don't be impulsive, don't be impatient, we are not bad people." Leo Ping stretched out his arms, palms forward, and pressed down slightly. "I think you found the wrong enemy. What you really want to go to is the battlefield behind you, not in front of the three of us. You still want to argue. This conflict is entirely because of you. If you hadn't killed the poisonous wolf, how could there be such a fire and bring such chaos to Hell's Kitchen? You mean, I should stand still and wait to be killed by the poisonous wolf? Listen, Daredevil, I'm just a guy who came to Hell's Kitchen to make a deal. I just want to get 2 legal ids, which is pretty common in Hell's Kitchen and happens at least a few times a month. I didn't intend to cause any disturbance, but trouble found me, I'm innocent, I'm not a bad person." Quote. Matt has extraordinary hearing and can hear every move in Hell's Kitchen. He already knows everything that happens in the Inn of Innocence, and he knows that Leo is not lying. In a sense, Leo is indeed innocent. However, Leo does bring a great deal of chaos to Hell's Kitchen, which is exactly in conflict with what Matt is after. After some weighing, Matt said loudly, "You're not wrong, but you did cause a lot of trouble for Hell's Kitchen. You leave Old Tom behind, Hell's Kitchen doesn't welcome you, and you go somewhere else to get your ID." Quote. Seeing that Matt was reasonable, Leo took a step back and said, "I'm in a hurry, I'm not familiar with this place, and it's hard to find other people. I only use Old Tom for 1 day, and I'll put him back after the formalities tomorrow, and when I get the certificate, I'll leave Hell's Kitchen." But after listening to Leo's words, Matt shook the metal stick in his hand, obviously disagreeing. Leo shrugged, spread his hands and said, "Is there really no way to talk anymore?" Matt answered Leo with practical actions. With force under his feet, he rushed towards the three of Leo. In the dim alley, with the sound of gunfire on Ming Street behind as BGM, the battle between Matt and Leo and others has begun. Bucky, now Leo's gold medalist, naturally took the lead in meeting Matt. Matt raised the metal stick in his hand and yanked it towards Bucky's chest. Bucky didn't show weakness, he didn't even hide, he reached out and grabbed the metal stick that was thrown over. Matt obviously didn't expect Bucky to play this way. There was a metal crash, and Bucky held his metal stick tightly in his hand. Matt's strength, of course, was far worse than Bucky's. He pulled the metal stick hard and found that the metal stick didn't move at all. In the next instant, his keen sense of hearing looked at Bucky's fist that quickly slammed over. Matt resolutely gave up the metal stick in his hand, and took a step back to avoid Bucky's fist with a look of surprise on his face. Bucky jumped up, used his fists and feet, and launched a continuous attack on Matt. And Matt knew that his strength was inferior to the humanoid monster in front of him, so he could only move left and right, or even dodge in the air. The two were fighting together, unable to tell the winner for a while. But it can be clearly seen that Bucky has the absolute upper hand and is pressing Matt. Leo felt a little irritated when he looked at Matt, who flexibly dodged Bucky's attack. There is a feeling that Matt has no ability to solve the problem of the Hell's Kitchen gang himself, and he has to throw the blame on his head, Leo. But Matt's intention is good, he wants to make a little contribution to the stability of Hell's Kitchen and make ordinary people's lives more stable. In this way, Leo felt that the battle between himself and Matt was meaningless at all, and the sooner it ended, the better. Thinking of this, Leo pressed his feet hard and rushed towards the two people in the battle, preparing to end this boring battle quickly. Bucky is a master of fighting, and Matt's kung fu is all groping and practiced by himself. He relies on his excellent balance and flexibility to support Bucky. And Matt doesn't move as fast as Bucky, he can't even get out. Leo got Bucky's advanced fighting skills, and his boxing skills are not bad at all. After Leo joined the battle, he joined forces with Bucky, and Matt was greatly defeated. He could only keep rolling on the walls and the ground to avoid the danger. Leo seized an opportunity and reached out to grab Matt's ankle when Matt's body was in the air. Although Leo's strength is not comparable to Bucky's, he is still much stronger than Matt's. With his hands, he swung Matt in a circle and smashed it to the ground. Before Matt landed, Leo subtly pulled a little force and let Matt land on his back to prevent Matt from being seriously injured. But despite this, Matt was still lying on the ground, unable to get up for a while. Hidden head and tail, slippery like a loach, I hate such people the most. Let me get down on your mask and see who you are. Bucky and Matt fought for a long time, but they never touched Matt's body. They were very annoyed. At this time, seeing Matt being subdued, he wanted to take off Matt's mask. Matt, who was lying on the ground, looked particularly excited. He struggled to roll away from Bucky twice, and finally got up on his knees, raised his fists, and made a defensive gesture. Seeing this, Leo reached out and stopped Bucky, saying, "I've heard of this man, he's not a bad guy. He's called the Night Demon, and he fights gangsters in Hell's Kitchen every night, so he has made countless enemies. Many people want to know his identity, and they want to get rid of them quickly. Speaking of which, this person and your current life goals are still the same. Since he wants to hide in the dark, don't expose him. We're just here to get an ID, don't get into so much trouble." Quote. Bucky listened to Leo's persuasion, took a step back, and said, "I don't mean anything else. I just feel that this guy named Night Demon has a very bad temper with me. I just want to see who he is, and I don't want to really hurt him." Quote. Matt, who was waiting for him, was relieved to see that Bucky was no longer ready to take off his mask, and sat down on the ground, panting heavily. "Yemo, we really don't want to provoke any conflict. Today's matter is a misunderstanding. I hope you will take this as a warning in the future. Don't want to worry about everything, just do it yourself." After Leo finished speaking, he took Old Tom with Bucky, past Matt, and gradually disappeared at the end of the alley. Matt stood up with his hands on his lower back, and also limped out of the alley. It was almost 10 o'clock in the evening at this time, and there were very few pedestrians on the road, and dim streetlights were lit on the slightly spacious roads. Leo and the three were walking down the street, chatting casually. Leo said, "Bucky, how do you feel about what happened tonight? How does it compare to when we were in Minnesota?" Hearing Leo's words, Tom jumped ahead of Bucky and cried out in surprise. "Minnesota? Could it be that the two of you are the knights who robbed the Minnesota gangsters 2 days ago? Leo glanced at Old Tom and said, Old Tom, you know too much, it's easy to get into trouble. Old Tom was frightened by Leo, his head shrank, he closed his mouth with his hand, blocked his ears again, obediently stopped speaking, and limped behind the two of them. Bucky also glared at Old Tom before saying, this so-called Hell's Kitchen is more chaotic than Minnesota, with more gangs. The Black Bear Gang and the Poison Wolf Gang have been on fire for so long. We walked all the way without hearing the siren. The patrolling police dare not come here at night. Even if someone calls the police, those from the NYPD will only wait for the gunfire to stop before a group of people drive police cars to check the situation. In their eyes, Hell's Kitchen is a bunch of villains. All infighting is clean, New York City will be more stable. Quote, didn't I tell you to stop talking? Bucky lifted Old Tom's collar, raised his fist, and threatened viciously. Do you really want to die? Old Tom shrank again, trembling with fear. Bucky, don't scare him. As a native of Hell's Kitchen, he should be telling the truth here. If you want to deal with the gangsters in New York, you really need to ask him what's going on here. Power. After listening to Leo's words, Old Tom opened his mouth wide, and he didn't even care that he was still in Bucky's hands. He was surprised. You want to take out Hell's Kitchen, and all the gangsters in New York? Old Tom struggled to pull back his collar from Bucky's hand, and said excitedly. Don't dream. That's impossible. The whole of New York, and even half of the American gangsters, are controlled by Kim and Jin is not a murderous demon. If you two want to fight against him, it is like the fat meat sent to the mouth of the hungry wolf, which will be swallowed in one bite, without even spitting up the bones. Quote. Leo first asked Old Tom not to get too excited, and then asked. Old Tom, it looks like you know a lot. Do you know who Kimberly is? Do you know where he lives? Of course I don't know who Jin Bing is. But in the underground kingdom, there has always been a legend that Jin Bing controls the underground forces. Bucky asked suspiciously at this time. Leo, didn't you say you know who Jin Bing is? Of course I know who it is, I just want to confirm a little more from Old Tom's mouth. In Minnesota, the first time Leo heard Kim's name from a gangster, he didn't know whether it was Kim from Daredevil or Spider-Man. During the day, when Leo met Mary Jane, he thought Kim was the Kim from Spider-Man. But tonight, reality hit him hard in the face. Daredevil appeared suddenly and had a boring fight with Leo and the others. So, this Kim is the Kim from the Daredevil movie. Now Leo has almost given up on guessing the real universe based on his previous experience of watching movies. This should be a universe mixed with many elements of Marvel. Leo can only pray now that there are no mutants from Marvel in this universe. In that case, this universe is really too dangerous. When Leo finished saying that he knew who Jin was, the dead Old Tom couldn't hold his mouth again. He said, do you know who Jin Bing is? Isn't it bragging? Say it and let me hear if you really know. Leo grinned at Old Tom and said, Old Tom, it seems that you really can't keep your mouth shut. I seriously doubt whether you can keep all the secrets today and keep them from going out. How about I shut up for you? Leo said and laughed like a joke, but Old Tom couldn't help but tremble in his heart and chilled all over. A man's sixth sense told Old Tom that Leo was not joking. This time, Old Tom was completely honest, and really closed his mouth. After Old Tom closed his mouth, only Leo and Bucky were left to talk. Moreover, Leo and Bucky deliberately quickened their pace. Although Old Tom's foot hurt, he didn't dare to say another word. Although Leo didn't like seeing Old Tom's mouth broken, he still had to take care of Old Tom's leg strength in the end. Therefore, after 30 minutes, the three people walked to the door of the Harvest Hotel. Hell's Kitchen is not a place to live. It was already late at this time, and the hotel owner had already closed the door. If the three of them wanted to go in, they could only knock on the door and ask the boss to open the door. But when Leo took a step forward and was about to knock on the door, he suddenly stopped. Bucky keenly noticed Leo's abnormality and asked, Leo, what's wrong? Leo pointed to the parking space on the roadside on the right side of the hotel, and said, Look carefully, is our car passive? Bucky looked at it carefully and said uncertainly, It seems, the wheels have moved forward about 20 centimeters. Go and see. Leo and the three walked to the car and knew that something had happened. Because, the four doors and trunk of the car have obvious signs of being pried. Leo hurriedly opened the trunk to take a look, and found the light-loaded power arm Type 6 in the trunk of the car, guns and ammunition, a box of gold and silver jewelry stolen from Minnesota, and the things Leo brought from the 033 base. Wings fly. Other things such as guns and ammunition, gold and silver treasures are not important. If you lose it, you will lose it. It doesn't matter to Leo. But among the things that were lost, there was a hard drive. That is all the information that Leo secretly copied from Dr. Zola's database in the 033 base. When Leo left the 033 base, he was in a hurry. He didn't even have time to look at what was in the hard drive. But the hard drive contained the research results and secrets of Dr. Zola's life, which were invaluable to Leo. This time, Leo was really in a hurry. At this time, Old Tom was in the back with a look of hesitating to speak. Leo noticed the expression of Old Tom and said, "Old Tom, if you have anything to say, just say it. I'm in a bad mood right now. You'd better not talk nonsense. Mr. Lee, your car has an out-of-town license plate, which in the eyes of Hell's Kitchen gangsters is a sign of a fat sheep without trouble. I'm afraid the person who stole your stuff is a native of Hell's Kitchen." Quote, "What's the use of your nonsense? You say it directly. Is there any way to get the lost things back?" It depends on the situation. This is Chinatown, at the junction of 4 gang jurisdictions. If you want to get things back, you must first determine which gang stole the things. Bucky saw that Leo's face was gloomy and powerful, afraid that Leo could not help slap Old Tom to death, and interjected. "Old Tom, don't say some useless nonsense. You directly say what the names of the 4 gangs are, and how can you find them? If you talk nonsense again, I'm not sure if you can still live." Old Tom was so frightened by Bucky that he shivered and said, "You already know 2 of the 4 gangs, the Black Bear Gang and the Poison Wolf Gang, and their nests are the Innocence Bar on the east side and the Nightmare Bar opposite the Innocence Bar respectively. The other 2 gangs, one called the Wheel Gang, are a car repair shop 8 blocks south. Another gang, the Black Boxing Gang, is located in an underground boxing ring 10 blocks to the north. That's all I know. I said it all, no nonsense." Quote, "Your last sentence is nonsense." Leo, who was in a bad mood, yelled at Old Tom, causing Old Tom to take a few big steps back. Bucky felt that the 4 gangs were not too many, so he came up with an idea. "It's not too late, Leo, how about we split up and find these 4 gangs one by one?" Leo felt that Bucky's method was troublesome, but it was the most effective method, and was about to agree. Suddenly, he had a flash of inspiration and remembered that when he was out of the hotel in the evening, he saw a surveillance camera installed on the side of the signboard of the Harvest Hotel. Sure enough, Leo turned his head and saw the camera. It was glowing a faint red light, apparently working normally. Leo had a happy face, pointed to the camera with one hand, and said to Bucky, "I don't think we need to be so troublesome. Look at that camera. We chose to stay at the Harvest Hotel. It's not wrong. The owner of this hotel is quite reliable." Bucky saw the camera and smiled, relieved. Dong dong dong. The knock on the door could be heard far away in the empty street. A few minutes later, footsteps could be heard in the Harvest Hotel. Then, Leo heard the slightly familiar voice of the hotel owner. "Who is it? My hotel is closed after 8 p.m. If you want to stay in the hotel, look for other places. And I suggest you go a little further and find a place to stay." At the same time as the boss's voice came out of the hotel, Leo actually heard the sound of the bolt being pulled in the house. Bucky and Leo's expressions changed, and they pulled Old Tom back to the side of the door. Leo shouted aloud, "Boss, we were guests who checked in at your hotel this evening. When we went out, we asked you to suggest where to eat. What you suggested was the steak from the Peace Hotel, do you remember?" After Leo finished shouting, the hotel room fell silent. After a long time, the innkeeper asked again, "You were 2 when you left, why are you 3 when you came back?" Sounds like this. The innkeeper should have gone to see the surveillance screen just now. So Leo explained. "The third person is a friend of mine. He sprained his foot, and it's too late. If he can't go back today, he's going to join me for the night. You ask him to stand at the door of the hotel and look up at the camera on the signboard of the Harvest Hotel. I want to see what he looks like." Leo had no choice but to tell Old Tom to obey. Old Tom was very afraid that the innkeeper would shoot him through the wooden door, but in contrast, he was more afraid that if he didn't act obediently, Leo would directly punch him to death. So old Tom stood at the door of the hotel tremblingly and looked up at the camera. The hotel was quiet again, and the hotel owner didn't speak for a long time. And the less the innkeeper said, the more scared old Tom became, and his body began to tremble. Just when Leo couldn't help it, and wanted Bucky to smash the hotel door directly, the light in the hotel suddenly lit up. Next, the door was opened a crack, and the innkeeper whispered, "I thought the two of you were dead outside. Since you are still alive, come in, hurry up." The three of Leo filed in, and then the hotel owner closed the door again. After the innkeeper locked the door, he turned around and said, "This new guy can't be in the same room with you. You have to start a new single room for $20. Leo took out two $20 bills and photographed them in the hands of the hotel owner. He didn't have a driver's license, and the house price doubled. "I know that. It's really bothering you at night." However, the boss took out one of the two banknotes in his hand and handed it back to Leo. "His name is Old Tom, I know him. So, the house price doesn't need to be doubled, just give 20. Old Tom looked at the innkeeper and asked in surprise, "Why do you know me?" 10 years ago, when I first came to New York smuggling, I also asked for your ID card. I thought I could come here to live a good life, but who knows that I will end up in Hell's Kitchen for 10 years. The innkeeper said something faintly, and then he didn't want to say more, and changed the subject and said, "It's getting late. Go to bed early. This is the key to 205. The single room is just across from 203. After the hotel owner was about to leave, Leo realized that he had almost forgotten his business. He immediately reacted and stopped the boss in time and said, "Boss, the car we parked at the door was pried open, and the things inside were stolen. It just so happened that you have a surveillance camera here. I want to check the surveillance video and find out who stole our things." "What's the use of knowing who stole it? Don't you dare to find it in the middle of the night. If you can't find it, you're going to die. These two big guys are not easy. It's not unusual for them to double the value of things, by the way, not to mention getting things back." Old Tom answered quickly. He thought he was flattering, but in fact he was madly trying to die without knowing it. Leopard tugged at Old Tom's head and drove him aside. Old Tom smiled awkwardly, but he didn't dare to be angry or say anything. The innkeeper saw that Old Tom, who was quite a face in Hell's Kitchen, looked respectful to Leo, and couldn't help but guess in his heart who these two faceless tenants were. Leo turned to the innkeeper again and said, "Boss, you just need to show me the surveillance screen. You don't have to worry about other things, I'm sure it won't cause you trouble." The innkeeper was silent. He frowned, looking confused. Leo took out his wallet, took out a thick stack of banknotes and handed it to the innkeeper. He said slightly coldly, "Boss, since you choose to open a hotel and you are considered a businessman, then I will use this money to buy news from you. This money is already quite a lot. In Hell's Kitchen, it should be enough to buy a life." The innkeeper heard Leo's threat and did not dare to refuse Leo again. Compared with ordinary gangsters, the innkeeper felt that the talent in front of him who did not know whether it was good or evil was even more terrifying. The innkeeper didn't dare to take all the money. He carefully took a brand new 100 yuan bill from the top of the stack of money, and said angrily, "The money is enough. My news is not so precious, it is not worth a life." Afterwards, he took Leo to the counter and prepared to call out the surveillance video of the past few hours at night. On the tube display, a black pickup truck appeared in a picture with snowflakes. Then, two sneaky men in black casual clothes got out of the car. They circled several times around Leo's car parked in front of the hotel. Then they pulled tools out of their pockets, pried Leo's car open, emptied everything inside, and drove away. The time on the surveillance screen shows that the theft happened half an hour before Leo returned, which was not too long. After watching the surveillance footage, Leo noticed that Old Tom's face was different, and immediately asked, "Old Tom, do you know these two men?" No. These two people, one is called the Monkey and the other is called the Crow, are from the Black Bear gang." "Oh, so you and the two of them should be very familiar with each other." Old Tom quickly waved his hand and said, Unfamiliar. It's just acquaintance. I have nothing to do with them." "Then do you know that when they stole things, where do they usually sell the stolen goods?" "The Black Bear gang has very strict rules, so they don't dare to sell things in private. All stolen things must be handed over to the Black Bear himself, so that he can deal with it exclusively." So, 10 minutes later, Leo and Bucky returned to Ming Street. Old Tom was placed in the Harvest Hotel by Leo. Before leaving, Bucky had a friendly exchange with him. I believe that Old Tom must not dare to run around at night. Ming Street was no longer the lively scene of an hour ago. Now all the bars were closed, and a full 10 police cars were lined up in the middle of the street. Seeing that there were so many police officers, Leo and Bucky quietly hid in the alley, observing secretly but did not act rashly. The police seemed to have been here for a while. At this time, there were 7 or 8 body bags on the ground at the entrance of Pure Love Bar. Several police officers were working in pairs to move the bodies to the corpse truck. There were already several corpses in the corpse carriage. Leo counted them from a distance. It is conservatively estimated that at least 20 people died in this fire. Suddenly, a large number of police poured out of the Dyer bar, crushing more than 30 people who were handcuffed behind. These people were male and female, and Leo didn't know whether it was from the Black Bear Gang or the Poison Wolf Gang. The prisoners were pushed into police cars one by one, and the police removed the cordon and prepared to leave the scene. Leo didn't want to cause trouble, so he and Bucky waited patiently until the police car disappeared along the street, and the two walked out of the alley. In front of the Innocent Bar, there is a mess. The door is densely covered with bullet holes, and the blood in the house has not yet solidified, leaving a personal bloodstain. The people in the bar seemed to have run away. The whole first floor was empty, the surroundings were quiet, only the pale lights were on, highlighting the desolation here. Bucky glanced at the lobby on the first floor and asked, "Leo, what should I do now? It seems that the Black Bear Gang and the Lone Wolf Gang are gone." Leo is also a little irritable. Is it going to be a waste of time tonight? After a night of delay, the ghost knows where the Black Bear Gang will sell Leo and the others. Leo didn't know what to do next. Suddenly, there was movement on the second floor of the bar, and Leo vaguely heard the voice of someone talking. Leo was very puzzled when he heard the movement from the second floor of the bar, and the sound became louder and louder. When he and Bucky hid and peeked at the police, a group of policemen only lingered at the door of the Pure Love Bar from beginning to end, and never stepped in once. When Leo saw the police escort a group of people out of the Dyer bar, he thought that the police had dealt with the Innocence Bar a long time ago, and the Black Bear Gang had already been escorted away. However, it now seems that the situation is not what Leo thought. Could it be that the people of the Black Bear Gang are still colluding with the police? Leo took Bucky and found the stairs to the second floor by memory. The two walked up the stairs quietly, and gradually heard the voices from upstairs. "Brother Barno, those notes have gone far, we are safe. The boss still has the ability." After he came forward and said a few words to the inspector, "The notes actually believed that we were innocent and only took them away. The Lone Wolf Gang. We all stayed on the second floor, and there was not a single note to come upstairs to check the situation." Quote, "Elba, are you a fool? This is obviously a private deal between the inspector and our boss, okay? I said earlier that you should use your brains, don't accidentally die one day." The black and thin young man named Elby claimed that he was, and was then assigned by Barnes & Noble to go to a stairway to watch the wind. Leo and Bucky hid sideways at the corner of the stairs, holding their breaths as Elby approached. At the moment when Elby turned, Leo quickly stretched out his hand and wrapped his arms around Elby's neck, while covering his mouth. With Elby whimpering in horror, Leo punched him in the back of the head. Leo couldn't judge the severity of his punches. Anyway, Elby seemed to be in a coma. Leo and Bucky quietly touched the stairs again until they reached the stairs on the second floor, but they didn't encounter the second person, and went all the way to the second floor smoothly. Leo quietly probed into the lobby on the second floor at the entrance of the stairs, and only then did he know why no one else was guarding the stairs. At this time, there were more than 20 people in the lobby on the second floor. They stood loosely in a circle, and a large black man sat on the single sofa in the middle of the circle. Right in front of the big black man, Barnes & Noble was using a rope to tie the hands of an empty mixed-race woman, ready to hang her up. The mixed-race woman was stuffed with a strip of cloth and whimpered. She looked terrified, clutching her legs tightly, and swaying hard from side to side. But how could her strength be comparable to Barnes & Noble, and in the end, her hands were tied tightly by Barnes & Noble. The rope passed through a hanging lamp shelf hanging from the ceiling and lifted her upright until she was barely on her toes. In this posture, the body of the mixed-race woman is fully exposed. The attention of more than 20 people was focused on the woman's body, so no one glanced at the stairs. This mixed-race woman, Leo, looked a little familiar. He recalled it before he remembered that this woman was the bare-ass woman who ran out of Old Tom's room when Leo came to find Old Tom. She also blew a kiss to Barnes and Noble, Leo and Bucky at the time. Leo still remember her name, seems to be called Polly. Snapped. The sound of the whip piercing the flesh suddenly sounded. After Barnes and Noble hanged Bobby, he directly picked up the whip next to him and threw it on Bobby's body. Barnes and Noble held the handle of the whip in his hand, pointed at Polly and scolded. "Boboli, you stinky fool, you dare to eat inside and out. Say, why did you collude with the Poison Wolf gang?" Polly's mouth was stuffed with strips of cloth, and she cried out in pain, tears streaming down her face. Barnes and Noble threw the whip again, and then took out the cloth strip from Polly's mouth. The first time Polly was able to speak, she ignored Barnes and Noble, who was holding a whip in her hand, but turned her body hard and pleaded to the big black man sitting on the sofa. "Boss Black Bear, please let me go. I was really just confused for a while and was bought by the people of the Poison Wolf gang. I will never dare to." Barnes and Noble didn't know why, but he whipped Bobby again. Before Bobby could finish speaking, she couldn't help screaming in pain. Then the big black man sitting on the sofa said to Polly with a grim smile, "Do you still want to have a future? Polly, although you have good skills in bed and made some money for the Black Bear gang, the most unbearable thing for my Black Bear is to be betrayed. So, you have no future. Boss Black Bear, please, please don't kill me. I'm still young, I can still make money, and I can make money for you all my life." But the Black Bear was unmoved. He lifted his slender body from the sofa, took the whip handed by Barnes and Noble, and approached Polly step by step. Polly was so frightened that she couldn't even shout. She opened her mouth wide, staring at the Black Bear and inhaling rapidly. Seeing that Polly was about to be ravaged, suddenly, Leo's voice came from the entrance of the stairs. "You must be the boss of the Black Bear gang. I happen to be looking for you to talk about something. My business is in a hurry, so can you put the work at hand for a while?" The Black Bear shook its huge body and looked towards the stairs, and found Leo and Bucky, standing straight at the stairs. Leo was smiling and slightly apologetic. Bucky was grim, bodyguard-like. When Polly saw Leo and Bucky, she seemed to have seen the last straw, and desperately shouted irrationally, "Two gentlemen, please help me, they are going to kill me, please help me call the police." But Leo ignored her. Leo interrupted the Black Bear to ravage Polly, not because he wanted to save people, but because he didn't want to see some horrible pictures with his own eyes. Ba Nuo also noticed Leo and Bucky at this time. His face froze, and he forgot to investigate how Leo suddenly appeared at the door of the second floor. Barnes and Noble hurriedly leaned over to Black Bear's ear and whispered a few words. After Black Bear heard this, his face immediately became very serious. Black Bear was silent for a while, and then said to Leo and Bucky in a deep voice, "The two brothers are the ones who killed the poisonous wolf, right? The two of you eliminated the deadly enemy for my Black Bear gang, and my Black Bear is here to thank you too. However, didn't the two of you clearly give up your cooperation with us? My brothers and I have now wiped out the Lone Wolf gang. What do you mean by coming back at this time?" Quote. At this time, everyone's eyes on the second floor were focused on Leo and Bucky. Leo looked at the 20 or so people and found that there were no crows and monkeys in the crowd. So Leo didn't know whether the two guys who stole his things had already transported the things back to the bar, or they kept stealing outside. Leo pondered a little, and said bluntly to the Black Bear, "Black Bear, don't worry, since I wasn't going to interfere in the affairs of your two gangs, and I still won't interfere, I'm not here to rob you of the interests you have. I came to your Black Bear gang at this time because your gang has two thieves named Monkey and Crow who took something they shouldn't have. I don't know, Black Bear, have you seen the two of them tonight?" Quote. Black Bear is the boss of a gang, and he is used to being intimidating. Now Leo has a questioning tone without much emotion, and what he said did not save the Black Bear any face. In the face of Leo's aloofness, and the Black Bear did not see the fierceness of Leo and Bucky with his own eyes, the Black Bear went mad without any surprise. He said, "You two, don't you seem to have figured out the situation? This is Hell's Kitchen, and everything is owned by no one. As long as you get it, you have the ability. There is no stealing here, only taking. Moreover, the two still have the face to ask me for someone. What about Old Tom in my bar? He is someone who can bring me a lot of income every year. Where have you hidden him? I haven't had time to find you, but the two of you came first. Quote. The black bear's sudden rage made the anger on the second floor tense. But Leo was very calm. He immediately judged the two thieves, the monkey and the crow, through the words of the black bear, and he had not returned to the bar. Otherwise, with Black Bear's fiery temper and love of money, when he heard that Leo wanted to get back the things that included a box of gold and silver jewelry, he should have shot Leo and Bucky directly. Chapter 51. Leo didn't expect that the Black Bear's temper was so hot, and he would even go to war if he disagreed. What Leo didn't expect is that Bucky's temper, because of the Hydra and the Minnesota gang, is now extremely violent. Bucky became unhappy when he heard the Black Bear talking like this. He took a step forward and pointed at the Black Bear. You black, ugly and stupid bear man, how can you say such a thing? Hell's Kitchen is so chaotic because of people like you and the gang you led. You really should have been born in the United States decades ago and thrown into the battlefield of World War II. Only then will you know what kind of extravagant hope is for harmony and stability, and only then will you know that there is a spirit called the American spirit. Fake. Quote. The Black Bear was stunned for a moment after hearing this, and then he looked up to the sky and laughed. After laughing, he said to Bucky in a mocking tone. American spirit, what is that? Can you eat it? What kind of taste? Brother, I think you are young, how can you talk like an antique? Fake, brat, I'm old enough to be your ancestor. Bucky was so furious that he was about to rush to beat the Black Bear. The tense atmosphere on the second floor of the bar escalated again, and a group of people from the Black Bear gang prepared to copy the guy. At the critical moment, Barnes and Noble stood up to smooth the game. He is someone who has seen the power of Bucky and Leo, although he is also very confident in his dozens of brothers. He feels that there are more than 20 people, each with a gun, and it should not be difficult to win Leo and Bucky. However, Barnes and Noble is also self-aware. There are more than 20 people on his side, and how many will be killed in the end, so I can't say for sure. Barno stopped in front of the Black Bear, first signaled his brothers not to draw guns, and then faced Leo and Bucky. Don't be impulsive, the two of you, don't be impatient. You two helped our Black Bear gang kill the poisonous wolf, and then handed over the interests at hand, and our Black Bear gang will not treat them badly. Although I don't know how the monkeys and the crows offended the two of them, I can guarantee that the two of them will take your things, and our Black Bear gang will remain intact. Sheet. What the hell happened here in our bar? Why does it seem like it was shot by a machine gun? Crow, go upstairs and see. Suddenly, a man shouted in surprise from downstairs, interrupting Barnes and Noble's words. The next moment, footsteps sounded from the stairs, and then another male voice shouted in horror. Monkey, Elby died in the stairs. I think we don't care what happened here, just run, save your life first. After listening to the two sentences from downstairs, Leo immediately judged that it happened to be the two little thieves who stole his things and returned to the bar. Moreover, the most terrible thing is that the thief named Crow actually said that Elby in the corridor was dead. Leo clearly remembered that when Elby was knocked out by himself, his chest was still heaving. But now it is meaningless to tangle whether Elby is dead or faint. The words, Elba is dead, is a fuse. Leo and Black Bear will not explain each other at all, and they have no time to explain. In a flash, Leo wanted to understand the most likely direction of the next thing. So, he decided to act in advance and seize the opportunity. The pistol on Leo's waist flew up quickly and automatically and fell into his hand. He fired 3 shots in a row at a group of Black Bear gang, and shouted decisively at the same time. Bucky, go downstairs. Leo shot 2 decisively, and his marksmanship was accurate. The Black Bear gang fell 3 people in an instant. After the rest of the people reacted, they began to look for cover. Leo naturally understood the principle of capturing the thief first and capturing the king. One of his 3 shots was aimed at the Black Bear's head. But there was a Barno standing in front of the Black Bear. Leo could only shoot Barno in the head, but the Black Bear survived. After the Black Bear shrank his head and hid on the sofa at his feet, he immediately drew his gun. Led the rest of the Black Bear gang to start a round of shooting at Leo and Bucky. But Leo and Bucky had already run down the stairs at a speed far exceeding that of ordinary people, like a locomotive accelerating to the limit. On their way down the stairs, Leo and Bucky also encounter crows and monkeys who are trying to escape from the bar. The crow and the monkey suddenly heard the gunshots on the second floor, and they were scared and ran out in a panic. All this is happening now. All because of these two sneaky little thieves. Otherwise, Leo and Baki would have rested on the beds at the Harvest Hotel. When the so-called enemies meet, they are divided into jealousy. Although the monkey and the crow did not know when the two of them provoked the two evil stars rushing over, this did not prevent Leo and Bucky from punching the monkey and the crow one by one. The monkey and the crow flew out 10 meters, and slid 5 meters along the first floor, bringing out a long trail of blood. The two died immediately and were beaten to death by one punch. Leo and Bucky rushed out of the door of the Pure Love bar, and saw a black pickup truck parked at the door, which was the one Leo saw from the surveillance screen of the Harvest Hotel. Leo ran to the side of the car and took a look at the back of the pickup, and found that his lightly loaded power arm Type 6 and other things were just lying there, and his face couldn't help but feel happy. Leo, the car key is not inside, the car won't start for a while, what should I do now? While Leo went to the trunk to check things, Bucky smashed the car window with a punch. After Bucky found that there was no car key in the car, he habitually asked Leo. But without waiting for Leo to answer, Bucky continued. How about we run away with things in our hands? Or, let's go back and kill this Black Bear gang to make a big profit. As long as the hard drive can be brought back, Leo doesn't care about other things. Leo was ready to run along with Bucky on the basis of the popular principle of his previous life. But as soon as Leo carried the backpack with the hard drive and laptop on his back, out of the corner of his eye, he caught sight of a group of black bears who were aiming guns at him and Bucky on the second floor of the bar. In the nick of time, Leo got under the car and slid to the other side of the car. Bucky's response was not slow, even faster than Leo, and he also got under the car. The people from the Black Bear gang on the second floor began to focus the fire, and the bullets went through the glass windows and poured onto the pickup truck. The firepower was very ferocious, and Leo and Bucky could only hide in the pickup truck as cover, not daring to come forward. With the jingle of bullets hitting the pickup truck, the Black Bear began to shout on the second floor of the bar. The two things in the back of the car, don't you think that you are high above and look down on our gangsters? You keep talking about the American spirit. Snort, if you have the American spirit, don't be a tortoise, why don't you show your head outside the car? Look at Grandpa Black Bear, I won't blow your dog's head. Quote. Leo and Bucky ignored the cry of the Black Bear and continued to hide behind the car. The firepower of the Black Bears is getting stronger and stronger, and some people have switched from pistols to submachine guns. In order to have a larger protective area, Bucky stretched out his left hand, pulled the side of the pickup truck hard, and turned the whole car over. The two are also not worried that the pickup truck will be blown up by the Black Bear gang, because the fuel tank of the car is so easy to explode. Those are all lies in the movie. With a larger protection area, Leo and Bucky don't need to worry about the attack on the second floor. It was very easy for the two of them to leave, as long as Bucky carried the pickup truck as a bunker, and the two of them left all the way. The reason why they don't go now is because Bucky is trying to encourage Leo to kill a group of people from the Black Bear gang on the second floor of the bar. Leo, I know you brought 2 high explosive grenades with you when you came out of the 033 base. You give me one, and one is enough to wipe out all those junkies on the second floor. Bucky, this is not good. After all, there are more than 20 lives upstairs. Why didn't you care about human life when you suddenly shot and killed? You asked me to kill the poisonous wolf more than an hour ago. Bucky was a little puzzled. Leo, in my impression, you are not such a sympathetic person. Why don't you want to wipe out all the Black Bear gang this time? Why did you suddenly become like that guy in The Night Demon, doing things forward and backward? Quote. Me and Yemo's perspective is different. I asked you to kill the poisonous wolf because the poisonous wolf took the initiative to provoke us, and he looked too bad at the time. And now that what we lost has been found, it's not really good for Hell's Kitchen to kill the Black Bears now. Quote. Leo was silent for a while before saying, this is Hell's Kitchen, and in everyone's mind, the impression of this place is chaos and disorder. You hate gangsters and want to kill them all because you want to restore stability here. Originally, the Black Bear gang and the Poison Wolf gang coexisted in Ming Street. If we killed the Poison Wolf, we would kill them. It doesn't matter. The Black Bear gang is here as a deterrent. However, if we kill the Black Bear gang again, not only will we not be able to stabilize the neighborhoods around Ming Street, on the contrary, people from other gangs will take the opportunity to compete for territory and make this place even more chaotic. This is what you and I pursue. purpose does not match. I don't care how many gangsters die. I'm mainly afraid that people who work hard to survive here, like hotel owners, will die inexplicably due to conflict. Quote. But Hell's Kitchen can't be chaotic like it is now. Someone has to break the deadlock. My short-term life goal now is to clean up the gangs in the United States, and now I feel that New York City seems to be the cause of the entire American underground society. Extremely rampant source. I don't have any long-term plans right now, but I think it's the easiest and most effective way to directly eliminate these gangsters by tough means. Quote. After listening to Bucky's words, Leo fell into thought. In Leo's plan, he and Bucky came to Hell's Kitchen just to get 2 ids. Not at all prepared to get involved in the conflict between the Hell's Kitchen gangs. But the sky was not as good as people wished, and Leo was not going to cause trouble, but the trouble came one by himself. Leo and Bucky are bold and not afraid of these troubles at all. But Leo and Bucky grew up in different environments, and naturally have different attitudes toward trouble. Leo lived under the 24-character mantra in his previous life, based on relative stability and harmony, and did not want to make things worse, so as not to implicate innocent people. And Bucky lived in an era of continuous artillery fire and constant battles. There were so many innocent people who died that Bucky was numb. Therefore, he did not take these innocent people into consideration when thinking about things, and only wanted to eliminate the root cause of cholera in one fell swoop. Leo didn't know if Bucky's idea was right or not, but at least Bucky gave a solution simply and neatly, while Leo was struggling and couldn't make up his mind. After thinking silently for a while, Leo made up his mind, handed Bucky a high-explosive grenade, and said, "Bucky, since you have the heart to deal with the problem of American gangsters, then the matters involving the gangsters will be left to you to make decisions. But I hope that in the process of your actions, try not to involve innocent people." Quote. Bucky took the grenade Leo handed over, put his hand on Leo's shoulder, and grinned at Leo. "Leo, in my opinion, people in this era are too forward-looking and have too many constraints on doing things. That led to the rampant gangs. I am professional in solving this kind of thing, leave it to me, you can rest assured." Quote. Leo slapped Bucky's hand off angrily, surging with mechanical force, and equipped his body with the light-loaded power arm Type 6 that fell from the carriage to the ground. Although this equipment has been damaged a lot in the battle with Sienna, Leo has simply repaired it, and it is more than enough to deal with these ordinary gangsters. Although Bucky couldn't feel the mechanical force, he could see the light-loaded power arm that automatically flew up and was automatically equipped on Leo. But it wasn't the first time Bucky saw this situation. He didn't ask before, and this time he also kept silent. When Leo was dressed, Bucky said, "I'll throw the high-explosive grenade on the 2nd floor later, and after the explosion, the 2 of us will rush to the 2nd floor directly from the street to make up for the knife, and then pack up the spoils. Run away, and the provincial police are back in trouble." Leo nodded. Bucky reached out and pulled out the safety of the high-explosive grenade. At this time, the Black Bear was standing on the 2nd floor, pouring bullets into the pickup truck with the submachine gun in his hand, and scolding the downstairs from time to time. Suddenly, the Black Bear saw a spherical object flying from the back of the pickup truck to the 2nd floor, directly smashing a little brother next to him, and bounced a few times on the wall and the floor, and rolled to his feet. When the Black Bear saw that there was a grenade under his feet, fear and despair instantly enveloped his heart. All this happened between the electric light and Flint, and it only took 3 or 5 seconds before and after, but this was already the limit time for the high-explosive grenade to delay the explosion. The Black Bear didn't have time to say a word, and the grenade made a loud explosion at his feet. Black Bear didn't want to understand until he died what character he had provoked. In Hell's Kitchen, the fire between the gangs is all about using knives and guns. How did these 2 evil stars use grenades directly? The moment the explosion sounded, Leo and Bucky supported the cabin of the pickup truck with their hands. The next moment, a huge shock wave rushed over. But the strength of the 2 of them is far beyond ordinary people, and naturally they easily withstood this wave of shocks. After the aftermath of the explosion subsided, Leo and Bucky ran for a few steps, leveraged their hands on the wall, and climbed directly from Ming Street to the 2nd floor of the bar. At this moment, the 2nd floor of the bar is in a mess, and the bodies of more than 20 people are sticking to the wall. The Black Bear was the closest to the center of the explosion, and his body was almost blown to pieces. Bucky glanced around and found that he and Leo didn't need to make up the knife at all, and everyone on the second floor was dead. Leo, search for the spoils together, let's go now, the provincial police are in trouble. But Leo stood still at this time, he was quietly looking at the corpse of Polly by the wall. Bucky came over and glanced at Polly, who had her eyes wide open before she died, and said with disgust, "This cock girl is completely self-inflicted. If it hadn't been for her whistleblower, this evening would not have happened. We should be sleeping in the hotel now, and Ming Street should be a street that never sleeps with laughter and music. It is estimated that the poisonous wolf and the black bear will not believe that they are actually killed by this inconspicuous Polly." Quote. Leo's first reaction from Keyboard Man in his previous life was that Bucky was wrong. If he and Bucky didn't come to Matilda Street tonight, it wouldn't happen tonight. So, how can you put all the blame on a dead chicken girl? But Leo thought about it carefully. The root of all these things was actually the conflict of interest between the two gangs. The conflict between the two gangs has reached a critical point, and there is only one fuse missing. In this way, fortunately, it was him and Bucky who came up tonight. If an ordinary person came to the Pure Love Bar to apply for an identity certificate, it is impossible to say that this ordinary person would become the victim of the conflict between the two gangs. Therefore, Polly is not innocent, she was wrongly involved in the conflict of interest between the two gangs. As Bucky said, her death was entirely her own fault. Thinking of this, Leo stopped looking at Polly, and turned to follow Bucky to search for the spoils. 5 minutes later, Leo and Bucky swept the bar. Bucky packed all the money into a box and jumped downstairs with the box and Leo. Leo walked to the pickup truck again, dug out the box of gold and silver jewelry from a pile of things, picked it up and left Ming Street with Bucky. The gunfire in Ming Street has stopped, and it is estimated that the police will be back in a while. In order to avoid running into the police head-on, Leo and Bucky found an alley and prepared to leave Matilda Street. However, the two of them escaped the police, but they did not escape the entanglement of Matt the Nightmare. This time, Matt learned to be smart. Instead of falling straight from the sky in front of Leo and Bucky, he chose to stand on the fire escape on the 3rd floor and maintained a relatively safe with Leo distance. The first time Matt stood firm, he pointed at Leo angrily and shouted, "You liar." Leo raised his head blankly, looked at Matt's soul, and asked, "Where did I lie? You said that you didn't intend to cause riots in Hell's Kitchen, and you also swore that killing the poisonous wolf was an unintentional act. So, why did you kill the black bear this time? The poisonous wolf and black bear are all dead. Do you know what the chaos will be in the neighborhood around Ming Street? Do you know how many innocent people will die?" Quote. Leo understood Matt's worries a little this time, touched his nose a little embarrassedly, took a step back, highlighted Bucky, and said, "Bucky, the decision to kill the black bear is yours, and it's up to you." Bucky nodded, sorted out his thoughts a little, raised his head and shouted to Matt, "The one in black upstairs, you come down and talk first. I feel tired when I look up and talk." Matt not only did not come down, but climbed to the 4th floor. "Don't worry, I won't hit you this time, I just like to talk to others face to face." After listening, Matt took another vertical leap and climbed to the fire escape on the 5th floor. Bucky's mouth twitched, his hands spread out, and he shouted helplessly, "Yemo, it's useless for you to be like this. There's nothing to talk about, then we'll go straight away, and you can continue your cry of the week." Maybe it was Bucky's last sentence that touched Matt, and Matt saw that Bucky was really pulling Leo away, and he jumped from the 5th floor to the ground suspiciously. But Matt was still far away from Leo and Bucky, and did not dare to approach easily. "Well, you have a good hearing anyway, and it's fine for me to speak in a low voice, but please speak louder, I may not be able to hear you." Bucky shrugged helplessly at Matt and continued, "Night Demon, first of all, I want to ask, why are you jumping around in Hell's Kitchen wearing this leather tights every night?" Matt is not a person to play tricks, so he followed his heart and answered patiently and loudly, "Because innocent people are persecuted every night in Hell's Kitchen, I want to save them, punish those who commit violence, and give innocent people a stable living environment. However, what you said is obviously the responsibility of the police, and they have their own laws to punish those bad people. Who are you? Why do you need to take care of these things? The police are dereliction of duty, and the law is taking sides, so I have to use my own way to do justice." "That's right, Night Demon, in fact, you and I are the same kind of people. We are both using our own methods to solve the gangsters in Hell's Kitchen. You actually want to eliminate all the gangsters, but your ability but not enough. Coincidentally, I have the ability to eliminate these gangsters, so I eliminated both the Black Bear Gang and the Poison Wolf Gang tonight. So, instead of blaming us here, you should thank us. Quote. Matt felt that Bucky was sophistry, and brought the topic back to the beginning, saying, "You are very capable. You can destroy 2 gangs with just 2 people, but you only see the temporary stability, not the long term. The chaos in the Ming neighborhood will tell you that you did it wrong." Bucky replied, "Night Demon, according to you, the chaos is caused by the gangs, and finally the gangs are needed to maintain stability. What is your logic? Since you have super hearing ability, you should have known for a long time that the Black Bear Gang and the Lone Wolf Gang are on the verge of merging because of conflicting interests. The 2 of us happen to be the trigger for this. All you do is to delay the conflict, but not to solve the problem at the root." Quote. That's just because I don't know where the source of the chaos is. Do you think I haven't killed an entire gang before? I did, but it didn't take long before new gangs popped up. It's as if an invisible hand is adjusting the balance of the gang in Hell's Kitchen so that there is neither stability nor complete chaos. Quote. That's because your ability is not enough. As long as a gang appears, just kill it. After doing this several times, naturally no one dares to mess around. Also, by your so-called hand, do you mean Jinbing? We happen to know. Where is this hand hiding? Bucky continued. So, you and I have the same goal, so, are you willing to join us? Let's go find out the culprit behind it, and then chop it down with a slam. Bucky said as he slashed a knife in his left hand with his right hand. After listening to Matt, he was a little confused. He came here to ask for guilt. Why did Bucky still want to recruit him? So Matt asked suspiciously. You mean, you're not going to leave Hell's Kitchen right away? Are you going to get rid of all the gangsters here? Accurately speaking, not the gangs of Hell's Kitchen, but the gangs of New York City, and even the gangs of the United States. Bucky cleared his throat and continued. I, Bucky, am determined to destroy all gangsters in the United States, to destroy the gangsters, and to restore the lost spirit of America. So, Night Demon, would you like to join me? Matt discerned Bucky's heartbeat like a ghost, expecting Bucky to be lying to him. But after Matt's careful identification, what Bucky just said turned out to be all true. The next moment, Matt really met a ghost. He turned his head and ran. Bucky took 2 steps forward and shouted, Night Demon, don't go. I appreciate your. But Matt ran faster, climbed to the top of the building, and disappeared after a few leaps. Bucky turned his head helplessly and walked back to Leo. He saw that Leo's face was a little weird, and he spread his hands awkwardly and said, Hey, the recruitment failed. But the next time I meet him, I will definitely let him join us. With such a like-minded teammate, I will destroy the gangs in the United States. It must be just around the corner. Leo's mouth twitched, with a constipated look, unable to speak for a long time. After a long time, Leo took a deep breath and asked Bucky. Bucky, do you think that your sudden solicitation of the Night Demon just now, especially the paragraph about determination, seems very, very second? Is there? No, that's what we were like when we recruited people back then. I have dreams and pursuits. If you support me, then come with me. That's how we were back then. Leo looked up and sighed again. Bucky, your way of thinking has a generation gap with this era. After speaking, Leo turned around and left. Bucky didn't quite understand what Leo said, so he shrugged and followed. After Daredevil Matt left in embarrassment, Leo and Bucky finally left Ming Street smoothly and returned to the Harvest Hotel. At the door of the hotel, Leo knocked on the door again. This time, the hotel owner quickly opened a crack in the door, and Leo and Bucky ducked in. Seeing that Leo and Bucky came back safely again, carrying several bags, the innkeeper was very surprised, but he didn't dare to talk much, so he could only guess in his heart. Leo would not explain to the innkeeper. After he thanked the innkeeper, he took Bucky up to the 2nd floor. Bucky just opened the door of 203 with the key, and the old Tom, who was stupefied and asleep in the house, was awakened. He breathed a sigh of relief when he realized that it was Leo and Bucky who came in. The next moment, Old Tom saw the large and small bags that Leo and Bucky were carrying. And Old Tom was not as funny as the innkeeper. He asked a series of questions in surprise. You really got the stolen things back. Black bears aren't such a talkative person. How did you get them back? How are the Poison Wolf Gang and Black Bear Gang doing now? Bucky thought for a while and replied. The Poison Wolf Gang and the Black Bear Gang are gone, and the Black Bear is dead. By the way, you are a member of the Black Bear Gang. Is your relationship with them very good? Should I kill you and save the trouble of raising tigers? Quote. Don't. You saw it tonight. Barnes and Noble's attitude towards me is not friendly at all. I have a mutually beneficial relationship with the Black Bear Gang. We have no feelings. Please spare my life. Old Tom was very noisy, and Leo frowned and threatened. If you keep making noise, I'll ask you to meet the Black Bear tonight. Since the Black Bear Gang is wiped out, it doesn't matter to you, then go to sleep. If you delay the application of your ID card tomorrow, I'll let you see it, until tomorrow night. Old Tom shrank aggrievedly into the corner of the bed, daring to speak. In the end, Leo reluctantly said in a low voice while packing the bag in his hand. Didn't I just want to get an identity certificate? Why did I get into such a mess? Bucky, you're going to live with this crappy guy tonight. If he says another word at night, you will kill him directly. Let's find someone else to prove his identity. Quote. Bucky nodded in agreement. Leo put on the backpack, carried his power arm out of room 203, and opened the door of room 205 opposite. Leo took off his bread coat and hung it on the wall, then threw off his shoes and climbed onto the bed. He opened the backpack, took out the heavy laptop, and carefully scanned it with mechanical force insight. Fortunately, the laptop wasn't damaged and worked fine. This saved Leo a lot of trouble, and he didn't have to spend time fixing it. Leo connected the power supply to the laptop, took out a thick hard drive, and violently connected it to the computer. Anyway, Leo also has computer manufacturing and computer specialization, all of which are not difficult. The capacity of the hard disk is very large, and the performance of the current notebook computer is very slag, so the reading speed is very slow. A clever woman cannot cook without rice, and Leo has no choice but to wait patiently. Looking at such a computer with such a slow operation speed and such an ugly appearance, an idea suddenly occurred in Leo's head. The 1990s was the era of the fastest development of science and technology, and Leo had a vision for the future and the innate advantage of the mechanic system. So, why didn't he start a tech company? In this way, I can make a lot of money and be self-sufficient in the future, and I don't have to worry about the large expenses of manufacturing machinery in the future, and I can perfectly cover up the various mechanical products that I made. Start a technology company. Here again, in the Marvel Universe, the acceptance of ordinary people is extremely big. Therefore, no matter how terrifying the things Leo finally created, the 5 words of a scientist are enough to explain everything. Although the company has grown bigger, there are too many products, and it will definitely attract peeps, and even others will discover the true identities of Leo and Bucky. But so what? As long as Leo can obtain a formal identity certificate to prove his innocence, all procedures of the company's operations are reasonable and legal, and there is no criminal record. Then, according to the laws of the United States, no one can trouble him through formal channels. If someone wants to find trouble through informal channels, Leo thinks that at that time, whoever is looking for trouble may be. Leo's idea was very good, but when he thought about it carefully, he realized that something was wrong. Because he doesn't have the money to start a tech company. Registering a company is very simple and can be done for tens of thousands of dollars. But if you want to set up a factory to manufacture things and sell them, it will cost a lot, and it is impossible without a few $1,000,000. Leo had nearly $20,000 in cash on hand, and a box of gold and silver jewelry from Minnesota, and some $50,000 or so in cash from the Innocence Bar tonight. Roughly estimated, the total value of these things is at least more than $100,000. Although it looks like a lot, but if you want to start a big company, this amount of money is not even a fraction. Leo had a headache and didn't know where the money came from. With a ding sound, the hard drive was successfully read, and Leo quickly took his attention away from his reverie about how to make money and focused on the computer screen. But what was displayed on the computer screen was a bunch of garbled characters. It seemed that Dr. Zola set up a special encryption method for the database. Leo called it out from the system panel and analyzed a series of knowledge obtained by Dr. Zola's robot body. There happened to be a decoding module in it, which corresponds to the special encryption method in the hard disk data. So, Leo started to use the laptop at hand to write the decoding program according to the knowledge in his head. An hour later, under the speed of the laptop, Leo was patient, and after overcoming the urge to smash the computer several times, he finally succeeded in decoding. On the computer screen, there are English entries displayed. Leo was patient and endured the stuttering of the screen, slowly browsed the information, and briefly went through all the information. Weapon, weapon, weapon. More than 80% of the data stored in the hard disk are the design schemes of various weapons and equipment. Some designs have already marked the completion of the project, but most are semi-finished products. In addition, about 18% of the other information records the experimental data about super serum. These figures are already familiar to Leo, so they are not very useful to Leo. The remaining less than 2% of the data records the life memory of Dr. Zola, which is stored in the form of a combination of text and images. Leo was particularly interested in this part and began to gossip excitedly. 2 hours later, Leo finished browsing these memories, silently removed the hard drive from the computer, and then turned off the computer. There is not much gossip about Dr. Zola in the memory data, but more secret information about the Hydra organization. After reading Dr. Zola's memory bank, Leo also knew all the secret bases of the Hydra organization, and also knew how badly S.H.I.E.L.D. was infiltrated by the Hydra. Fortunately, the only super soldiers in the Hydra organization are Sienna and Bucky. Now Bucky has been abducted by Leo, and Leo is just not afraid of Sienna's mind control ability. In this way, although Hydra has great influence and destructive power on the entire United States and even the entire world, it does not pose much threat to Leo personally. Leo called up his quest panel again, and looked at the Immortal Hydra quest whose quest completion rate was still 0%. The influence of the Hydra organization is too wide, and even spread to the whole world. With Leo alone, it is impossible to destroy it overnight. In this case, Leo put the Hydra thing to the back of his mind, and turned to think about the idea that suddenly appeared just now, to build a technology company. In the single room 205 of the Harvest Hotel, Leo thought about the necessity and feasibility of starting a technology company. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that it was necessary to start a company. As a mechanic, money is very important, intuitively. It can even be said that the amount of money represents the strength of the mechanics. Now that Leo has the mechanic system, naturally, he feels that his future development direction is on the technology side. For example, making Iron Man's armor in advance or something like that. These ideas, after Leo crossed over, the first time he discovered the mechanic system, he had already thought of it. Otherwise, he wouldn't consciously analyze Bucky's mechanical arm, and then successfully transformed a light-powered arm. Leo remembers a sentence in his previous life that perfectly summed up the many superheroes and supervillains in the Marvel Universe. This sentence is called, "The rich rely on technology, and the poor rely on mutation." Leo has a mechanic system, not a big muscle tyrant system. Naturally, he needs to take the technological route. Then, money is a crucial thing for Leo. At the current time node, there are already many black technologies in the Marvel Universe. For example, the Pym particle invented by Dr. Pym of the first generation of Ant-Man, the super serum invented by Dr. Erskine. Howard had perfected the energy source of the arc reactor in the 1960s, technology, after S.H.I.E.L.D. salvaged the cosmic Rubik's Cube, the high-tech technology that was analyzed from it, etc. Of course, at this time, the most powerful place in technology is of course the high-tech kingdom developed by relying on the magical metal vibration gold, Wakanda. Because Leo remembers that in the Black Panther movie, in 1991, Wakanda already had an aircraft that could be invisible, noiseless, and hover in place. Its technological level far exceeds that of civilian technology for more than a few decades. However, whether it is unfortunate or fortunate, these high-tech technologies are firmly held in the hands of the inventors and have not been popularized for civilian use. The result of this is that although the speed of technology development in this Marvel universe is faster than that of Leo's previous life, it is not too outrageous, almost only 3 or 5 years earlier. For example, the current internet era has begun, and many large enterprises have already connected to the internet. For another example, now wireless phones have appeared, and high-income people have begun to use them. There's even a web search engine, it's called Yahoo. Leo had been staying in the Hydra base all the time and had no idea about the technological development of this world. After he ran out, he discovered that his scientific research environment inside Hydra could simply get rid of the outside world. For example, the laptop that Leo is holding now was made by Dr. Zola for him 3 years ago. But its performance has greatly surpassed IBM's newly released notebook computers on the market. Therefore, for a moment, Leo had the thought of regretting leaving the Hydra base. But he only had it before, and the idea was thrown to the back of his mind in an instant. Because the leader of Hydra is really terrible, Leo Jen is afraid that one day she will accidentally fall in love with her, and then be squeezed dry, and finally die without knowing how to die. So, Leo ran out with Bucky. However, it is precisely because all the black tech giants in this world keep their unique technologies tightly sealed, which gives Leo the opportunity to make a fortune. Leo has learned a lot of black technology beyond this era from Dr. Zola. As long as Leo carefully takes out these things and promotes them to civilian use, it will make a lot of money. Thinking of this, Leo opened his system panel and checked what knowledge and drawings he had now. Computer specialization, physics specialization, genetics specialization, fan bionic robotic arm, autonomous multifunctional robot, micro machining technology, robot manufacturing, computer manufacturing. After thinking for a long time, Leo finally came up with the idea of autonomous awareness multifunctional robot. Dr. Zola's robot body has powerful computing power, and the performance of the computing chip used is far beyond this era. Leo only needs to use high-performance computing chips as the core to take a big step forward in the performance of current civilian computers. And now the internet is just taking off, just when high-performance computers are needed. Therefore, as long as Leo takes out the design method of the chip, he will definitely make a profit. But now the problem comes again. In fact, it is still an old problem. Leo has no money. Without money, Leo would not be able to set up a factory and manufacture an assembly line to mass-produce chips. Is it possible that I want to sell this obvious opportunity to make a lot of money to the largest chip manufacturer, Intel? Although the design drawings are sold, they must be sold for a large amount of money. But it was a one-shot deal, and Leo couldn't find a product more suitable for this era than a high-performance computing chip from the system panel. Oh, yawn. Leo, who was thinking and planning for the future, suddenly stretched and yawned subconsciously. He looked at the time and found that it was past 3 o'clock in the middle of the night. After driving for a day during the day and fighting 2 more fights at night, even the serum-enhanced body should take a break. Don't rush to make money, plan slowly in the future, or the body is more important, you must pay attention to rest. So, after Leo packed everything up, he lay on the bed and fell asleep with his arms around the quilt. At 8 o'clock the next morning, Leo drove Old Tom with him, preparing to let Old Tom go through the identities of Leo and Bucky as agreed. During dinner in the morning, Bucky said that he had something to do, and he was reluctant to tell Leo what he was busy with. Leo didn't force it, so he left Bucky at the Harvest Hotel. So, now there are only Old Tom and Leo in the car. Old Tom was a little afraid of Leo, and sat quietly in the co-pilot all the way without saying a word. Taking advantage of the silence, Leo has been thinking about starting the company. If you want to open a large company, or even have your own processing workshop and assembly line, an unavoidable problem is that you need a large space. For example, something like the Stark Industries building that is now towering over Manhattan. Of course, the scale does not have to be like the Stark Industrial Building, it can be appropriately smaller, even a miniature one is fine. But it's a miniature one, as Leo also knew, and it can't be bought without a few $100,000. This is the house price outside the suburbs of New York City. I don't know if I don't start my own business. Once I have this idea, I know that a penny can beat a hero. How to find a suitable space to start a company? Suddenly, Leo thought of Hell's Kitchen. Hell's Kitchen covers an area of Manhattan, whether it is large or small, and it is very chaotic here. Maybe there is a big house that you can get without spending money. Old Tom, do you know how to get a big house with an area of more than 500 square meters and at least 4 or 5 stories high without spending any money? After listening to Leo's wishful thinking, Old Tom sitting in the co-pilot pouted, lowered his head and said nothing. Old Tom, weren't you very good at talking yesterday? Why have you become a stuffy gourd today? I asked you something, you can answer it anyway. Then Old Tom muttered in a low voice. If there was such a good thing, I would have lived in a super large luxury villa by myself. Where can I stay in the bar of the Black Bear Gang? Even now, I don't even have the Black Bear Gang anymore, I can't even go back to the bar, and I won't even have a place to live in the future, so I can only live on the streets. The last sentence, Old Tom said in a lower voice, like a mosquito buzzing, obviously afraid that Leo would hear it. Old Tom, it was the black bear who helped him find death and stole something on my head. You're homeless, but you can't blame me at all. Leo's body has been strengthened by the secondary super serum, and his hearing is extraordinary, so he can hear it clearly. Leo continued. I didn't mean to make fun of you when I asked you this question. I'm serious. Is it possible to find the kind of place I just said in Hell's Kitchen? Inside the van, Old Tom was forced by Leo and said with a sad face. How can that kind of cheapness be found? This is Hell's Kitchen, but every little thing of value is occupied by people. Here, if you want something, you have to rob it. Suddenly, Old Tom seemed to have realized something, and hurriedly asked. What do you mean? You want to ask where Hell's Kitchen has such a large site, or is it controlled by gangsters? You want to grab it and occupy it? Old Tom finally understood what Leo really meant. However, Leo shook his head and said, how could I steal other people's things? Don't be so vulgar, I just want to borrow or rent it for use. In fact, the size of the Pure Love bar and the banquet bar last night were okay, but I was not satisfied with only 2 floors. Tell me, is there any other place that meets my requirements? Quote. After Leo woke up in the morning, he thought about starting a company for a long time. In the end, he made up his mind that the chips must not be sold directly, and the work of killing chickens and retrieving eggs should not be done. With the memory of his previous life, Leo clearly knows that with the development of the internet and the trend of economic globalization, the later the time node is, the harder it is to make money. Therefore, Leo rarely has a core technology that can make money now, and he must not let it go. Once Leo seizes this opportunity, it will play an immeasurable role in promoting his future development. Even Leo thought about the various new weapon blueprints stored in the hard drive. The interests of the military industry are extremely huge. In the future, Leo feels that he may not be able to share the benefits of military products with Stark Industries. Since starting a company now is so important to Leo's future, he thinks that the sooner he can start the company, the better. And now that there is no place to open a company, Leo naturally hit the gangster in Hell's Kitchen. Other gangs can compete for territory, and Leo can of course. Old Tom, think about it, is there such a place in Hell's Kitchen? Seeing that Old Tom had not said a word, Leo urged him. I really can't remember it for a while, you allow me to think about it slowly. Old Tom was a little embarrassed. Suddenly, he saw that the destination had arrived, and hurriedly said. Mr. Irwin, park the car, this is the place to get the ID card, I'd better go and get the documents for you two first. Leo was not particularly embarrassed by Old Tom. He stopped the car, but Old Tom did not get out of the car. What's the matter? What are you doing in the car? Going to get an ID card? Old Tom smirked and faltered. I have no money. The money is in the office of the Black Bear Gang. What Old Tom meant, obviously, was that the money fell into the Black Bear Gang, and now it's back in Leo's hands. How much? 20,000. To be frank. 2,000. You and the Black Bear Gang are so dark. Leo pointed out $2,000, without giving even a cent. Now Leo is short of money, and he can't wait to split a penny in half. When handing the money to Old Tom, Leo said, take what I just asked you in mind. Think about it, and ask around, where is the house I want in Hell's Kitchen? Old Tom took the money, got out of the car in a hurry, and thought as he walked, I'm afraid this Hell's Kitchen is going to change completely. Leo waited in the car for 3 full hours before Old Tom returned to the car. As soon as the door was opened, Old Tom said with a happy face. Everything went well, and in about 4 days, the certificate will be issued. After finishing speaking, Old Tom looked at Leo with a pleasing expression on his face. How? Do you still want to ask me for a commission? Is your life worthwhile, enough to pay your commission? Everyone in the Black Bear Gang is dead, and you are the only one who survived. Isn't that enough commission? Old Tom immediately shrank back on the co-pilot, with a lifeless expression on his face. According to Old Tom's life guidelines, life is the first and money is the first. There's no money to make now, and rounding up is about a life lost. Actually, it's easy if you want money. As long as you help me find the house I mentioned to you when you came, I can reward you with $2,200. Old Tom glanced at Leo resentfully, and nodded helplessly, indicating that he would try his best to find it. In a flash, 5 days passed. In the past 5 days, in addition to going out every day to buy newspapers and eat, Leo stayed in the Harvest Hotel, non-stop extracting and simplifying the technology related to computer chips and the internet from the drawings of the autonomous multifunction robot, drawing. During these 5 days, Bucky was out day and night every day, and he didn't know what he was busy with. Leo took the time to ask a question. Bucky said that he was busy with his grand career, and Leo didn't need to worry about it. After Old Tom completed the formalities for the identification of Leo and Bucky on the first day, Leo told him to dispose of the box of gold and silver jewelry that he had snatched from Minnesota. Of course, Leo was not worried about Old Tom's character, so he asked Bucky to go with Old Tom. Old Tom's contacts were unexpectedly good. A box of gold and silver jewelry was successfully sold the next night, and there was a particularly valuable gem in the box. In the end, the box was exchanged for $270,000. Of course, in this process, Bucky also made a lot of efforts, using violence to raise the price, and solved some inevitable troubles. Leo now has more than $300,000 in cash, which can be said to be rich overnight, but compared with the cost of starting a technology company, Leo is poor and poor. After several days of hard work, all the core technologies have been almost prepared. Leo was looking at the thick formulas and drawings on his desktop at this time, thinking about how to make money. Dong dong dong. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door, followed by Old Tom's voice. "Mr. Irwin, I'm Old Tom, are you in the house?" Leo first sorted out a stack of blueprints, stuffed them into the box, and then settled on the chair and said, "Come in directly, the door is unlocked." Old Tom pushed open the door and entered with a plastic bag in his hand. Old Tom first put the plastic bag on the table in front of Leo, and then said, "Mr. Irwin, this is the identity certificate I provided for you and the boss of Bucky 5 days ago. Fortunately, the certificate has been successfully issued. You can see if you are satisfied. There were 2 social security cards and 2 driver's licenses in the bag." Leo took it out and took a look. After finding that there was no problem, he put the documents away. With these identifications, Leo and Bucky have an official identity and can live as normal as ordinary American citizens. "I asked you to find a big house without money a few days ago. Did you find out any news?" Leo asked hopelessly, just like every time he saw Old Tom these days. "Who knows?" This time Old Tom didn't say no, he replied excitedly. "I have already inquired about the house that meets your requirements. You are guaranteed to be satisfied with that place." Leo became interested, sat up straight, and motioned Old Tom to continue. "Mr. Irwin, I actually mentioned this place to you a while ago. It is the home of the Black Fist Gang. That place was originally a 6-story shopping mall, which definitely meets your requirements. Didn't you say at the time that the Black Boxing Gang's lair was an underground boxing ring a few blocks to the north? Why did it suddenly become a shopping mall?" Leo in particular emphasized the word underground, expressing confusion about the inconsistency in Old Tom's words. "Boss Irwin, the underground boxing ring means an informal boxing ring, it doesn't mean that the boxing ring must be opened underground." Leo was stunned after hearing this. He originally thought that the underground boxing ring was really opened underground. "Ah, then why did it take you 5 days to remember this place?" Leo felt a little embarrassed, and found a reason to question Old Tom. "Actually, I originally thought it was a basement, but today I found out that it turned out to be a 6-story shopping mall. I used to work for the Black Bear Gang, how dare I go to the Black Fist Gang's territory?" "Then why did you suddenly know today?" In fact, in addition to the underground boxing ring, the Black Fist Gang is also in the gambling business. I've run out of money recently, so I sneaked in quietly, trying to win some money." "Did you win?" "Losing clean." Old Tom spread his hands, looking like he was unlovable. Leo thought for a while, then asked, "I'm more curious, how did the Black Fist Gang get their current nest? How can they have a 6-story shopping mall with such a big space? Or, who would be thinking about building a shopping mall in Hell's Kitchen? Planting something, isn't that a steady loss?" Leo was looking for a place to open a company. Now he heard that the Black Boxing Gang's nest meets his requirements, so he has to inquire about the ins and outs of this nest, so as to avoid unnecessary troubles in the future. "I really found out about this," Old Tom said cheerfully. "This matter has to go back to 5 years ago. At that time, a nouveau riche came from abroad, as if he made a lot of money in real estate in his own country. He came to New York and wanted to speculate in real estate in New York. He was a newcomer, and he was unfamiliar with his life, so he was tricked into investing money to build a large shopping mall on the northernmost street in Hell's Kitchen. The result can be imagined. Not only can the shops in his shopping mall not be rented out, but there are countless gangsters going to steal chickens every night. It was useless for him to call the police, and no security guard was willing to work in his shopping mall, and even his life was threatened. In the end, he had no choice but to admit that he was unlucky and run away in despair. Quote, "Then how did the mall end up in the hands of gangsters? No one in the New York City government wants such a big mall. Since the rich businessman ran away, the house has become ownerless, and it stands to reason that the building should really belong to the New York City government. But the house is in Hell's Kitchen, so no one in New York City officials wants to take care of it, lest it cause a riot. In the end, the mall has been left without owners, and was scrambled by the gangsters of Hell's Kitchen. After changing hands several times, it now belongs to the Black Boxing Gang, which has occupied the place for more than 2 years." Quote, after listening to Old Tom's words, Leo felt relieved. Listening to Old Tom's description, the Black Boxing Gang's nest is indeed suitable for Leo to use to open a company. The place was first grabbed by the Black Fist Gang, and Leo went to borrow it for his own use, without any burden on his heart. Secondly, the place is unowned. Once Leo gets it, I believe that if you find someone to trust the relationship and spend a little money, you can get the title deed of that place. In this way, Leo is not only nominally, but also legally the owner of the place. Thinking of this, Leo couldn't wait to borrow the old nest of the Black Fist Gang. However, things about the gang are now left to Bucky. So, Leo said, "Old Tom, I don't have anything to do with you. You go out and call Bucky over by the way, and say I have something to discuss with him." But Old Tom did not leave, but looked at Leo with a flattering expression. "Mr. Irwin, you said last time that if you found a house that satisfied you, you would give me a bonus of $2,000. I said it was 200, right? You have pity on me. I lost all my money today, and I don't even have to smoke a cigarette. The Black Bear Gang is gone again, and now I don't know what to do in the future. Do you still blame me if you lose money in co-authorship? Now that you have helped us with the identity certificate, I have no reason to keep you. You are free. Mr. Irwin, Boss Irwin, you can't cross the river and demolish the bridge. The Black Bear Gang is gone now, and I'm homeless. I've also done a lot of things for you and Boss Bucky these past few days. Why don't you leave me as an errand man? I'm familiar with Hell's Kitchen, and it's a lot easier to have a local person. I don't want money, I just need to eat and live." As a native of Hell's Kitchen, Old Tom certainly has many enemies. In the past, he was supported by the Black Bears, but now that the Black Bears are gone, he lives alone in Hell's Kitchen, and it is estimated that life will not be easy. Moreover, he also discovered that although Leo and Bucky were usually fierce towards him, they didn't really mean to kill him, and even gave him a little money from time to time. Such a good thigh, how could Old Tom easily let go? Of course he had to hug it tightly. Leo couldn't stand Old Tom's hard work, and finally gave him $500 as a reward, and agreed to let him follow him and Bucky temporarily, and then he was sent away. After Old Tom left, Leo was lost in thought. Old Tom has already helped Leo find a place to open his business, but Leo needs to come up with the right idea to get them all. It's impossible to kill the Black Bear Gang last time. If there is too much noise, the mall is not suitable for opening a company, and it will be targeted by the police and interested people. In a short period of time, several ideas flashed through Leo's mind, but they were rejected by him one by one. At this moment, Bucky pushed open Leo's door and walked in, asking, "Old Tom said you had something to do with me, what's the matter?" Bucky lived right across from Leo, and he usually rested in the house during the day. As soon as Old Tom left, he went back to the house and said to Bucky, and Bucky came over. Leo hasn't come up with any good ideas yet, to steal the 6-story shopping mall from the Black Fist Gang quietly. So, Leo told Bucky about his plan to open a company in the nest of the Black Fist Gang, and was going to ask Bucky if he could do anything. "No nonsense, just do it. In the evening, we will go to their lair and take the people from the Black Boxing Gang directly, so that the mall is ours." That's the idea Bucky came up with, in Bucky's style, simple and crude, straight to the point. Leo was speechless for a moment. After a while, Leo reorganized his language, raised his head and said to Bucky. But, Bucky, do you think the two of us will directly take over the black boxing gang's nest, and we can start a company in their nest? Think carefully about the scene where we killed the black bear. The entire second floor of the Pure Love bar was about to be destroyed by us. We even used grenades. How much noise did it make? If we forcibly go to other people's nests like this, we will eventually know both black and white. Immediately, we set up a company in that mall. Do you think our company can continue? Will someone come to us to talk about cooperation and business? Quote. Bucky thought for a while, felt that Leo was right, and asked. Then what do you want to do? I think it would be nice if we could quietly take down that mall. For example, the people of the Black Fist gang would obediently hand over their lair, and we wouldn't have to fight them. That would be perfect. Happening. How can such a good thing happen? They are not your puppets, just listen to your words, and let them be at your mercy. After listening to Leo's thoughts, Bucky felt that he was delusional and a little powerless to complain. However, the word, puppet, that Bucky said just now instantly caught Leo's eyes. Leo suddenly smiled and nodded, and said to Bucky. Bucky, thank you for reminding me, I have an idea now. Do you remember, when you were in Hydra, you were brainwashed every time you were frozen and dormant? In fact, that set of procedures, I understand. Quote. Bucky's eyes lit up, and he immediately understood what Leo meant. But the next moment, Bucky nodded his head and asked suspiciously. However, I feel that the brainwashing method has little effect on me, and I can easily get rid of it. I ended up being controlled by the Hydras, mainly because the chip in my brain was working. How can those fools compare with your willpower? You can rest assured that brainwashing will be effective. Leo touched his chin and said. So, the problem now is, we have to figure out who the leaders of the Black Fist gang are, and then find a way to catch them one by one. It's simple. I'm a professional investigator, so I'll leave this matter to me. Bucky took the task to himself with a confident face. Bucky, I heard old Tom say that you have been out every day and night for the past few days. What are you doing? Are you free to investigate these things? Bucky smiled and said, Of course I'm free. Every night I go out, I hang out in Hell's Kitchen, just to investigate the situation of the Black Fist gang. These few nights, I have occasionally taught the gangsters who are thieves in Hell's Kitchen at night, mainly to chat with the Night Demon. I admire him a lot, think he has potential, and have always wanted him to do things with me. Quote. Boy, is he very young? Leo noticed the words Bucky used and asked the question in his heart. I've run into him every day these past few nights, and we've had conversations every night. Although he deliberately pretended to be hoarse, I could still hear it after listening to it for a long time. I estimate that he is only 20 years old at most, and he can't be any older. After Bucky swore, he said with a puzzled look. Besides, I found out that Yemo's kid seems to be blind. He can't see anything. Oh, what did you find? Every time I talk to him, as long as I make gestures, I can't get a response from him. Moreover, he often habitually turns his head slightly towards me. These are all suspicious points. Aha, that sounds interesting. I'll try it out next time we meet him. Leo couldn't help sighing in his heart. Bucky was really careful, and Matt's disguise was almost completely seen through by Bucky. But Leo pretended he didn't know anything and brought the topic over. When you're out activities these few nights, don't play with the children anymore, ask more about the black boxing gang, and tell me every morning. When everything is clear, you will catch the Black Fist gang leaders one by one and brainwash them. Quote. Okay, but do you have brainwashing equipment on hand now? I remember that Hydra's brainwashing equipment is quite complicated. I don't have it now, but I can make it myself. In this way, you just have time to reconnaissance intelligence, and the work on both sides will not be delayed. Also, you go and ask old Tom to find a single-family rental with a basement in Hell's Kitchen, preferably closer to the Black Fist gang. Once we've found it, we're leaving the Harvest Hotel, where brainwashing equipment can't be built. Quote. Bucky nodded, turned and left Leo's room. 10 days later, in the basement of a rental house in Hell's Kitchen, Leo was putting the final touches on the brainwashing equipment. This rental is very spacious, a 2-story single-family building with a large basement attached. Currently, Leo, Bucky and old Tom all live in it. If it's anywhere else in NYC, the rent here is a few $1,000s a month. But because it's Hell's Kitchen, and it's old Tom, a well-connected local, Leo rented it out for a bargain price of $800 a month. It was already very close to the home of the Black Boxing Gang, only a block away, so Leo planned to use this rental house as a permanent residence and signed a 2-year contract at once. After the company is opened, the company is a large base, which can be used as a hidden small base. It was already evening, and Bucky had already set off to find a chance to catch the leaders of the mafia. According to Bucky, in the past 10 days, he has already checked out the daily routines of several leaders of the Black Fist Gang, and this time he will be caught easily. By the way, it is worth mentioning that there are 7 leaders in power in the Black Fist Gang. Their nicknames are also very strange. From the eldest to the 7th, they are called Red Boxing, Orange Boxing, Yellow Boxing, Green Boxing, Blue Boxing, and Purple Boxing. Therefore, Bucky can only sneak over one person every time, and then brainwash them one by one. Now that Bucky was ready, Leo did not go with Bucky, but stayed in the rental house and checked the brainwashing equipment again to make sure that the equipment was working properly. The materials available here are not as sufficient as those in the Hydra base. Although Leo traveled all over New York City and collected materials in these 10 days, the results were not satisfactory. The parts and equipment available on the market today are far worse than those in the Hydra base. Leo even wanted to buy several rectifiers individually and it was hard to get them. In the end, he had to dismantle some appliances and piece together some usable parts himself. Therefore, the brainwashing equipment he made this time is a little bit less effective, which can be seen from the system prompt. Crappy brainwashing equipment. Defective products based on the brainwashing equipment inside the Hydra organization. Due to the uneven quality of the materials used, once the brainwashed person has a strong sense of resistance, the success rate of brainwashing will become extremely low. Therefore, this requires Leo to find a way to reduce the resistance of the brainwashed, so as to increase the success rate. As for how to get the leaders of the Black Fist Gang to voluntarily accept brainwashing without resistance, Leo already had an idea in mind, and the rest was left to fudge. Leo kicked aside the various electrical parts scattered in the basement to make room for the brainwashing seat in the middle, then pulled up a chair and waited leisurely for Bucky to come back. A few hours later, Bucky came back with one hand tied up, a strong white guy with all kinds of tattoos and shorts. Bucky threw the strong man in front of Leo and said, "This is the leader of the Black Fist Gang, Red Fist. It's up to you." Although Leo wondered why the boss of the Black Fist Gang was only wearing a pair of shorts, he didn't ask much. In disgust, he took out the smelly socks from the Black Fist Gang boss's mouth, and was playing with a syringe gun he made by himself. Looking at the Black Fist Gang boss who was lying on the ground unable to move, he asked condescendingly, "Red Fist, do you want to live?" The boss of the Black Fist Gang had already finished his 2 daughters on a daily basis, and was lying in his room sleeping beautifully. But Bucky sneaked into his house, and without disturbing the others, tied him up and brought him to Leo. Originally, he was prepared to be tough and threatened with a stern voice. But when his entire basement was full of messy parts and scrapped electrical appliances, and there was a seat in the center of the basement that looked like something out of a sci-fi movie, he was scared to pee. Moreover, it was cold outside now, and he was carried all the way naked by Bucky, and his body was frozen. Now he was taken aback by the environment here again, and he suddenly shivered. Just listening to him, he stumblingly replied, I want to live. You two arrested me, what's the matter?" After Red Fist shouted that he wanted to live, in the deserted basement, Leo and Bucky looked down at Red Fist, but did not answer, but put pressure on Red Fist with silence. Red Fist was tied tightly all over his body, unable to move, and he didn't dare to shout out loud, for fear of angering Leo and the 2 of them. So, fear slowly began to breed in Red Fist's heart. After a while, Leo saw that the Red Fist was almost frightened, and then he said, "Since we didn't kill you directly, it means that you still have value." Red Fist immediately understood what Leo meant, and asked in a trembling voice, What do you want from me?" Leo did not answer directly, but put his hands behind his back and said, "In Hell's Kitchen, you should know that the Black Bear Gang and the Poison Wolf Gang were wiped out half a month ago." I know. What are you talking about?" Suddenly, Hong Quan didn't know what to think of, and he opened his eyes wide in horror and asked, "Is it possible that you are the ones who killed those 2 gangs?" "Bingo, congratulations, you guessed it right." Hong Quan's face immediately became very ugly. He struggled to raise his head and asked tentatively, Then what do you mean by arresting me? Do you want to destroy my Black Fist gang too? Leo did not answer immediately, but continued to put pressure on Red Fist with silence. Red Fist was very frightened, completely forgetting what Leo said just now that he would not kill him, and began to find various reasons to detour. Leo saw that the Red Fist was about to collapse, so he reminded. I said just now that I won't kill you. Why did you forget what I just said? Hong Quan was stunned for a moment, regaining some sense, and then heaved a sigh of relief, feeling that his little life was saved. However, at the next moment, Leo suddenly stretched out his left hand and lifted Red Fist from the ground. Holding the injection gun in his right hand, he found the right angle and pressed it down against Red Fist's neck. Hong Quan felt a pain in his neck, and immediately became anxious and startled, subconsciously about to scream. Leo covered his mouth in time, leaned over and threatened the ear of the whimpering Red Fist. Do you know why I killed the Black Bear Gang and the Poison Wolf Gang? It's because they were disobedient. I wanted to take over their gang, but they dared to resist, so I had to kill them. Only then did Red Fist suddenly realize what Leo wanted. He hurriedly struggled and shook his head, and Leo took the hand covering his mouth away. The Red Fist said, I'm more obedient than them, I don't resist. If you want to take over the Black Fist Gang, I will definitely support you. I'll give you the position of the boss. Leo snorted disdainfully and said, I know that you people have been fighting on the road for a long time, you have no integrity at all, and you have great luck. Once I let you go now, you'll not only take your pledge as a fart, you'll even lead your little brothers to my death. So, I don't believe a word of your word. Quote, if an ordinary person treated me like this, I would probably fight him as hard as you said. But you have the reputation of destroying two gangs, so why don't I dare to Red Fist? Leo released his hand, threw the Red Fist back to the ground, and said, you are so methodical and logical now that you think I will believe you. Red Fist began to rack his brains for reasons to convince Leo that he wasn't lying. But before he could come up with a reason, Leo actually loosened the rope that tied him. Red Fist regained his mobility, and did not dare to move, but stood in place and looked at Leo suspiciously. Red Fist, I don't believe your verbal guarantee, so I have my own way to make you dare not betray me. Leo saw that the doubts in Hong Quan's eyes were even heavier, and then he said, as you can see, I'm a person from the East, and the East has a secret technique that you don't know much about. Just like just now, what do you think I injected under the skin of your neck? That is a living GU worm. No matter how far away, I can control this GU worm to kill you silently, so that I can guarantee that you will not betray you. Quote, after being reminded by Leo, Hong Quan immediately felt a little pain in his neck, and hurriedly touched it with his hands. He felt a lump the size of a grain of rice from the subcutaneous tissue under his neck, and it hurt when touched. Red Fist, don't touch your neck. You must know that GU worms are living creatures, and they will become even more irritable when they encounter your blood. If you keep pressing like this, once the worms lose control, you will die immediately. Quote, although Hong Quan had been frightened before, he had never heard of GU insects at all, so he seemed a little skeptical. Do you think I'm lying to you? Leo saw Red Fist's expression, and immediately understood what he was thinking, and said coldly, then I'll let you feel the power of GU worms first, and see if I'm lying to you. Leo incited the mechanical force and controlled the small things in the subcutaneous tissue of Red Fist's neck to vibrate vigorously. Hong Quan immediately felt a sharp pain in his neck, and he felt as if there was something alive that was desperately trying to drill into his neck. He was so frightened that he completely believed what Leo said. In fact, Leo was really fooling him. What Leo injected into his neck was just a very small, sterilized metal ball. Leo can use mechanical force to control the movement of the metal ball in the air, making Red Fist think that there is really a living thing in his neck. As for what Leo said, no matter how far you can kill Red Fist, that's even more bragging. Leo's mechanical force can control the movement of metal, but as the distance becomes farther, Leo wants to control the metal, and the consumption of mechanical force increases geometrically. It can be said that with the total amount of mechanical force in Leo's body, 10 meters away, he can't even lift a metal wire as thick as a hair, and the mechanical force will be exhausted. Moreover, Leo controls metals through mechanical force, and the rules must follow Newton's second mechanics. The simple understanding is that he cannot make himself fly by controlling the metal. However, Red Fist does not know. He looked at Leo's face, and suddenly remembered the Oriental witchcraft he had vaguely heard about when he was a child. This kind of unknown things can only arouse the fear in people's hearts. Leo's words stunned Red Fist, and he shivered and cast Leo's eyes in awe. Leo saw that Hongquan believed his own nonsense, and quickly hit the railway while it was hot. However, don't worry, Red Fist, since I didn't kill you now, I won't kill you for no reason in the future. I just need you to help me with sincerity, and the GU worm in your neck won't have any effect on you. Quote. Red Fist hurriedly said, what do you want me to do for you? Just say it, I will do exactly what Red Fist does. I just ask you not to let those GU insects kill me. There is a saying in the East that the person who knows current affairs is Junji. You are very knowledgeable about current affairs, and I admire you very much. Don't worry, if you follow me, you will only get along better than you are now. Leo nodded and continued, you don't have to rush to help me. I'll tell you the precautions about GU worms first. You have to listen carefully. This is a matter of your little life. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe for more videos.